Ada's sister is mad that I have no reaction to her talking to my ex-girlfriend. My sister recently told me she has been getting coffee regularly with an ex-girlfriend whom broke up with me way back in 2005. She hid it from me for over 2 months, and then when she eventually told me and asked if I was okay with it, I had no visible reaction and asked her what she wanted from me. This ex and I dated from 1999 to 2005 from the ages of 14 to 20. She was cheating on me for the last 2 years and left me for the guy. It was 20 years ago. I'm 40 now. I was heartbroken but dealt with it and moved on. I have a wife I've been married to for 12 years. I'm a dad to 3 kids. Why would I care about someone from 20 years ago? My sister is frustrated because I have no reaction. She wants to know I'm okay with it or not. They were good friends back then but stopped talking when the breakup happened, but she says it's like all that time hasn't passed. I guess she wants my approval. Like I said, I literally don't care. If she wants to talk to her, that's fine, but I won't be interested. It's her life. She can talk to who she wants. ETA, my sister also felt as betrayed as I did about the cheating, hence why they stopped talking, but again the whole affair was 20 years ago and I dealt with the hurt and have moved on from it. I genuinely don't feel weird if my sister is talking to her again. Comments. I can see why she may feel guilty because she was swiftly on my side and felt extremely hurt and betrayed too, but again it was a very long time ago and I literally don't care who she talks to, as it's not like it just happened. She said apparently she was out getting stuff for my nieces when she bumped into my ex by chance. They talked for a bit, ended up exchanging numbers, have been talking most days, doing a lot of catch-up, and have been getting coffee at least once a week now. Update. I realized I had never given my sister an exact answer, just that I had no visible reaction, just that I asked her what she wanted from me and she was frustrated over it. I ended up calling her not that long ago and we talked about it. I asked why she felt so strongly about wanting to know my feelings about it, and a lot of you suspected she wanted approval, and you were right. I explained in my original post that my sister and ex were quite good friends and that the friendship ended cause I got cheated on and my sister also felt betrayed. The two hadn't spoken in 20 years. When my sister and my ex were friends, they did a lot with me and together. They did a lot together and were almost like best friends. SND. My sister told me that of course she was pissed and felt betrayed about the cheating, but also sad because she lost her only genuine friend at that time. I know she has really struggled to maintain good friendships, so she said when she happened to bump into my ex by chance and that they picked up where they left from, she leapt at the chance to kickstart their friendship. She said it's like a fog has been lifted from her and that she feels like she has her best friend back. She said she wanted to tell me but thought I'd be weird about it because at the time, I was so cut up about the breakup. She feels really guilty for being happy about rekindling a friendship with someone who caused me so much pain. After hearing all that, I understand why she wants to maintain the friendship and why she didn't want to tell me. I explicitly told her that I have no reaction to it because without sounding like a dick, I really don't care who she spends her time with. I told her I feel enough time has passed that I can accept my ex is in her life, especially since my sister told me she is still with the man she left me for and they are married and have a family, so they are obviously serious. She also said her daughters, my nieces, are the same age as my ex's kids and that it would be good for the kids to be friends too, which I get as they don't have many. Like I said, have also moved on and have been married for 12 years and I have 3 kids. I basically told my sister if she is looking for my blessing, she has it, but that I won't be involved or really interested in the friendship cause it doesn't mean anything to me anymore. I also told her she shouldn't feel guilty as it's happened, it's done and I moved on and recovered from it. Like if I saw the ex I would be civil, but I wouldn't be weird or anything about it cause again, I don't really care. Plus from the sounds of it the ex will really only be mingling with my sister, potentially my BIL and their kids, so I may not see her at all. She left the call feeling at least happier and I'm just glad she has a friend back, I suppose. Not an exciting update or anything, but I guess a good outcome. We were just mature and civilized. Comment. Well, my sister is happy and it's out in the open now, so that's all that matters, I suppose. Stories number 2. I, 35F, think my husband, 37M, might be cheating on me but my evidence aren't very good. How to deal with it. So 2 weeks ago, I unexpectedly broke my phone when I dropped it. I was without a phone for a few days, and I had to make calls to family and friends. I take my husband's phone, with his consent, of course. When I was looking for one person in his contacts, I noticed that he had someone signed as Love. Honestly, I found this a bit odd, as he's usually the type to refer to everyone by name plus where he knows them from. Even I'm not described as wife, but as OP's name. Despite this, even when my husband changes his phone, he always has the same number and transfers all his stuff. Some of his contacts are even from school. So I started wondering if it was some ex-girlfriend he'd forgotten about or something. It bothered me, though, so the next day I approached him and said, "Hey, when I was using your phone, I noticed one weird contact referred as Love and it's bothering me. Could you explain it to me? His answer surprised me a bit because he said, "Good that you mentioned it, I was just thinking about calling them." To put it as simply as possible, Love is a pizzeria which we use sometimes. The thing is, I'm 100% sure Love only became a pizzeria after I used his phone. I don't remember the entire number, but I do remember the last 2 digits. Let's say it was something like 11. The pizzeria's number ends with something like 33. I can't stop thinking about it. I have a feeling that because my phone broke unexpectedly, he didn't have time to change Love to something else, but he knew I'd ask, so he switched after I'd finished using his phone. On the other hand, we've been together for 7 years and he's never been secretive, he never hid his phone, and I've never seen anyone signed as Love call him. But ever since this thought popped into my head, I can't stop wondering, but how do I approach this? Do I have the right to ask him to look through his phone? How can I trust him? Comments. Commenter 1. Only an idiot would save a number as Love or something similar if they were cheating. Commenter 2. This if there was a random woman's number saved as Pizza Hut, that would be better evidence. Update. Hi, Reddit. First, I want to apologize for not responding to my previous post. I wrote it before leaving the house, and I immediately fell asleep when I got home. Now, today's events. I decided to take a chance. While my husband was taking a bath, I used his phone. I found 2 numbers that matched the first one 11, but one of them was his sister's, so that was out. I wrote down the second number on a piece of paper. I quickly put the phone away. But 10 minutes later, my husband was still in the bathroom, so I took a chance again and checked his phone again. He and this number exchange 2 phone numbers every day, when he should be at work and when I'm already asleep. I fall asleep first, my husband goes to bed a little after midnight. They also had a lot of messages, but all of them from my husband boiled down to, "How are you feeling?" and, "Do you need anything?" No photos. When it was time for me to go for a running, I took my phone and the number I had written down. I ran to the park, and called there. A woman answered almost immediately. An elderly lady. A truly elderly lady. Not his grandmother or anyone else in the family. But she was the Love. This is where it gets even weirder. I told her I was a friend of my husband's name. She told me she didn't know who I was talking about, and I could tell from her voice that she wasn't lying. She was genuinely confused. So I said that I was talking about the person she talks and texts with every day. She said, "Oh, you mean, definitely not my husband's name?" I said yes. We had a conversation in which she praised him and called him her another soulmate and true angel. She also asked me not to tell my husband's wife about our conversation and that he helped her every day and asked me when he can visit her again. I was very confused. I made up a quick excuse and hung up. I got home an hour ago and I still don't know what to do. I'm more confused than last time. Comments. Commenter 1. When you get home say, "I called that number and spoke with the woman you text every day." Why does she think your name is X? Just ask directly and don't let up until you have an answer. Commenter 2. 100% this. OP needs to be really direct. Commenter 3. I hope he isn't scamming her. That was my first thought with an elderly lady. Because if he was just going there to do good deeds, why wouldn't he tell you that, and why would she say don't tell his wife? Put the piece of paper with her number on the table and ask him to explain himself. See what he says. Commenter 4. Do you think she's old enough to have dementia? And I hate to say it, but is he either looking after her or taking advantage of her? Commenter 5. If he was looking after her, why using a fake name and making it such a secret? My best guess is he is scamming her. Can't even be just a dodgy hoping for inheritance move since he is using a fake name. Commenter 6. Is it possible the woman he's talking to lives with the elderly woman? Reply. She didn't mention anyone else. Commenter 7. My first thought was that he is scamming an elderly lady who possibly has dementia. Do you have any kind of access to his financial records? Has he made any large purchases recently? Any big vacations? Reply. Yes, no and no. Commenter 8. I find this very strange. Why can't you just ask him? Reply. Now. I think I'm afraid of the answer. The affair already sounded scary, but this. What if he's really taking advantage of some old woman? Commenter 9. Could be 1,000,001 different things, but like you said, the little old lady said to thank him. Could be helping her, could be anything. Don't know unless you ask him. Instead you are coming to Reddit and created a conspiracy that we are now all too nosy to let go of. LOL mate, I would rather my missus came to me and asked me honestly what is going on. I have nothing to hide, so I would be honest and open. I'd give my missus my phone right away if she asked. Stories number 3. Aita for being upset that my fiancé gave my engagement ring to his mom for safekeeping without telling me. 28F. got engaged to my fiancé, 31M, 4 months ago. The ring he proposed with belonged to his grandmother, and I genuinely loved it, not just because of the sentimental value, but because it felt like it symbolized something real between us. Last week, I noticed I couldn't find it in our usual spot. I take it off when I shower. When I asked him, he casually said he gave it to his mom, for safekeeping, because he didn't trust me not to lose it. I honestly thought he was joking. But no, he actually drove it over to her house without saying a word to me. When I asked why he didn't tell me, he said, "You're not the most careful with things. It's still yours, just safer with her." I got quiet. Hurt, honestly. He saw my reaction and told me I was being dramatic, that it's just a ring, and I should be grateful he trusted me enough to propose at all. Now I feel two things: 1, deeply disrespected, and 2, like he gave his mom part ownership of our engagement without asking. I told him I want the ring back, and he said, "Why do you care so much about the ring instead of our future?" Maybe I am overreacting. But it feels like a trust issue wrapped in a control issue. His mom hasn't even liked me that much and already acts like she has a say in our relationship. Stories number 4. Aita for telling my friend I'm proud of her. I, 25F, have my own 2-bedroom apartment that used to belong to my uncle. I made a friend during my uni years I'll call Mary, 27F. Mary had quite a hard home life, too long to detail here. I let her know that if she ever needed my help, she could always rely on me no matter what. When we graduated I asked her to move in with me rent-free. She tried to pay, but I knew she had a lot of debt trying to pay for uni, so I told her no and to spend her money freeing herself from it. She was so thankful for this, and I loved having her live with me. When never fought about anything, both of us have the same cleaning habits and TV interests, so there's never any arguments over the remote or who has to take out the bins, etc. Tonight we were out at a super fancy restaurant in London as Mary had finally paid off the last of her debt, secured herself an amazing promotion at her job, and also finally passed her driving test. All these achievements in the same month were more than deserving of an award, so we splashed out. It was me, Mary, 4 of her work friends, and 2 friends we've known since uni. It was a great night, until I handed Mary a card saying amazing she is and how lucky I am to have her as my best friend, with quite a bit of cash inside to put towards her first car. She started crying and thanking me and we hugged for a long time. When she pulled away I told her I was so proud of her for kicking life in the butt, becoming successful, and showing her dad that his dickhead ways couldn't keep her down. After how she'd struggled through uni, pushing pennies together, and working shit jobs, seeing her in her dream career and being such an accomplished woman is absolutely inspiring to me. She looked mad and said, "Please don't do that, you know I don't like it when you do that." She'd never said anything like this to me, ever, so I have no idea where this was coming from. I apologized and said that I didn't realize saying these things would upset her as it's never been my intention. She just scoffed and rolled her eyes, and when I looked up at her colleagues they were all shaking their heads at me and glaring. I felt so awkward I wanted to shrink back into my own skin, and I was mortified that I hurt Mary. Mary didn't talk to me for the rest of the night and ignored me at the table. When we split up to head home, none of her colleagues even looked at me as they left. I said sorry to Mary as she was heading to her room to turn in, but she just shrugged me off, told me she was tired and that we'll talk in the morning. I'm so anxious that she'll want to move out or never talk to me again. I keep going over every interaction in my head to see if I crossed a line in the past, but she never gave any indication that I upset her saying these things before. All her colleagues messaged me saying I was an asshole for saying those things to her and belittling her, but I never ever meant any of those things like that. Update. I didn't know how to update anything as I've never posted before, so when things happened, I wrote them down in Notepad to update later, but all this stuff happened in the space of one day. I'm posting them all below because I didn't get the chance to write them up after everything happened as my post didn't have a judgment yet. I saw a lot of mixed reactions to my post, but there was also some great advice in there about how to approach Mary, so thank you for that. I'm afraid all that well-meaning advice turned out to be for nothing, so I'm sorry about that. Things are time-stamped roughly to show how the day unfolded. Update 1, 6:30 a.m., so I'm even more confused than ever right now. After staying up all night and being constantly on the verge of tears, I finally heard my roommate moving around the kitchen, so I went to talk to her. She acted totally normal and started talking to me about some drama at her work while I just stood there kind of unsure what was happening or what to do. So I apologized again. She looked up at me in confusion and said, "Why are you sorry?" I reminded her of last night and how mad she was. Then she laughed and said, "It doesn't matter, don't worry about it," and then continued making breakfast. I asked if I'd stepped over a line last night, if the money was too much and if I made her feel inferior, and she said nope. "We're cool. It doesn't matter, I think everyone just misunderstood the situation and you're taking things to heart a little too much." I just am even more confused than ever. I told her about her friends texting me, telling me that what I said was belittling and that I was an asshole, and she just shrugged and said they probably misread things and she'll talk to them. But I'm just so winded. I'm so tired because I haven't slept because I thought she hated me, that I'd hurt her and she'd never speak to me again, but she's fine. Like she's completely normal and just chatting with me as if last night never happened, but I'm just so confused. After seeing so many YTA comments I thought I'd really crossed a line this time, but she's not fazed at all. She seemed too upset, ignored me for the rest of the night, and her coworkers treated me like a criminal, but everything's okay I guess. I don't know anymore. I'm tired and I'm going to sleep, but things still seem unresolved to me. I'm going to talk to her about it when she comes back from work today because her reaction still really bothers me. Update 2. I got a call from one of the uni friends who was at the dinner last night and we had a chat. She asked me if everything was okay between me and Mary, as she said she'd never seen Mary snap at me like that until last night. I filled her in on everything that we talked about and how confused I was as well. She reaffirmed many of my feelings about this being very out of character for Mary, as she had also congratulated Mary and said similar things, as well as given her a bit of money in a card, along with an expensive gift, as did many of the others. After talking to my friend, I've decided that I need to have a long sit down with Mary to clear things up, and it's not only me who's confused by her behavior. Both the uni friends are coming round later to have a chat, since now we're honestly quite concerned about her. Her friends have no let up on their texts to me, so I don't think she's spoken to them. One said I couldn't try and sweep this under the carpet, which is like what? I'm thinking of blocking all of them as they just won't leave me alone. Update 3. This is not an update I expected to make, not in a million years. Shit really hit the fan and went sideways in a way I never imagined. I'm confused, heartbroken, and really pissed off now. So long story short, it's all a fucking lie. One Redditor said to me that my friends might have said something to Mary's work colleagues about me that made them not like me. I talked to both of them when they came round in the afternoon and they both denied any of that. The one I had spoken to earlier on the phone, we'll call Claire, said she'd call one of the work colleagues that she knows slightly well in order to clear things up. Let's call the colleague Jane. Jane turned up at the flat and instantly looked pissed. I almost wanted to hide behind the kitchen counter when she came in glaring daggers at me. We all sat down and I let Jane know that I'd spoken to Mary about last night and that she was fine, but I was still confused. Jane then laughed and said, "Oh, don't try that shit with me, you can't just pretend now that you've been exposed in public." The three of us looked at her without saying a word as we were all confused now. Claire asked her what she meant and Jane said that she knew how I really treated Mary. We both asked her to elaborate, and she stood up and went on this tirade about how I apparently regularly abuse and belittle Mary, then intimidate her into saying nothing about it and put on a smile for others. I wasn't sure whether to laugh or cry at this point. She then showed me her texts with Mary where Mary wrote to her in distress about being locked in her room because I was having a meltdown about her making friends at work, something that never happened. Claire and my other friend took the phone and looked through the messages as well, and I had to stop reading them as they all said stuff about how Mary was afraid of me and that I trapped her here and was extorting rent out of her. It all just leaves me numb and dead inside. Eventually Claire got to a point where Mary said I'd cancelled her 21st birthday at uni and told her she wasn't allowed to go out. The things is, Claire and my other friend were at Mary's 21st birthday, which I'd put over £500 towards to have a themed Great Gatsby night she'd always wanted, which in the messages she was claiming never happened. We went over a lot of the stuff in the messages and realized that Mary had been spreading lies about me to all her colleagues about how I was abusive and she couldn't move out because I was charging her so much rent money. This absolutely shattered me. Mary was like a sister to me through our uni years, and I can't fathom why she'd say any of these things. It took a long time, but after Claire and my friend went over all the accusations with Jane and I pulled up my bank details to show that Mary never makes a single payment to me except for her half of the bills, she seemed to cool down and settled into the same confusion we were all feeling. She let us know that Mary told all of her colleagues this story and that the reason they were mad at me is because Mary said I like to use a manipulation tactic where I pretend I support her through everything but use her past against whenever we're in private. They all thought that's what I had been doing last night. That everything I said was meant as a backhanded compliment. Honestly, I'm so just about everything, I can't even put into words the hurt and betrayal I feel that she'd spread these lies about me. For what reason? What benefit? I could never lift a finger to hurt her, but she tells everyone at her work that I isolate her from the world. Claire had to calm me down as I couldn't stop crying no matter what I did for ages. It was quite embarrassing, but I just couldn't do anything else. Now I'm a little more level-headed, still mad but not crying anymore. I don't even want to look at Mary again. My friends have told me not to make hasty decisions. Even Claire said she was disgusted by the things Mary was saying about me in the texts when everyone knows them not to be true. I know that I probably won't be able to clear my name with her colleagues, but I don't really care about that. I just want to know why Mary said those things about me. Jane went quiet by the end of our discussion and left without saying much, so I don't know what that means for me in her eyes. My two friends are staying with me for the rest of the day until Mary comes home. We've all got a lot of questions for her to answer. Final update, 10:15 p.m., I've booted Mary out of the flat. She threw away years of friendship for sympathy points with her colleagues, and I still cannot understand why. When she got home and saw the three of us watching television, she got excited and said she'd make popcorn, but Claire took the lead and told her to sit down. She looked confused but complied. Claire led everything. I didn't really know what to say to Mary at all and could barely make eye contact with her. Claire told her that Jane had been round and yelled at me for being an abuser and a bully and asked her why she'd say those things. Mary acted confused and said that it must all just be a miscommunication, that Jane just twists things sometimes and she must have misunderstood stuff she'd said. Then Claire asked about the text messages and started mentioning each event, that Mary had cried to Jane about me being an awful person. Jane went quiet and then tried to say it was a work joke, but Claire wasn't having any of it. She pushed harder about all of this and eventually Mary broke. She started crying and telling us that she never meant any of it, that it was a stupid thing and it shouldn't matter, that she loved me with everything she had, and it was just a stupid story that went too far. She started begging me for forgiveness, but I was just so tired and still am. I looked her in the eyes for the first time and told her she had a week to find a place and move out. Then she started really bawling her eyes out and begging me to let her stay, that she didn't think it would matter because I don't work with them, but I told her I was not having that kind of bullshit in my life. I then said, so do you just make up lies about everyone in your life? Is any of it real? She went really quiet, dead silent at that point. I didn't want to believe it, but the way she was looking at me and the lies she'd made up about me abusing her had me questioning everything she'd ever told me when we were at uni together, about her dad beating her mom, about her being homeless from 16 until they divorced. I then told her to get her mom on the phone and she panicked and begged me not to. Claire then realized where I was going with this and asked her if everything we'd ever been told about her dad had been true, and she cracked and said she may have embellished a few things. I am so fucking fuming at this point. Who the fuck makes up this kind of twisted shit, for what benefit? I can't even write everything that was said, as it just resorted into a screaming match between all four of us as we learned that Mary's tragic life story had been nothing but a concoction to gain sympathy from others. Her parents are divorced, but there was no abuse involved, they just fell out of love and split. I had to learn this by calling her mother myself later on to get clarity. I'd never said a word to her mom about anything in the past because Mary had warned me against it. She said I could always be open with her about everything as she wasn't ashamed, but her mom was sensitive and didn't want to talk about it. So it turns out my best friend is a master manipulator and probably always has been. I am so tired and exhausted of this whole nightmare. This will be my last update as I'm done. I came here seeking help and advice to find a way to mend a mistake I'd made with a trusted friend, but it turns out that last 7 years have been built on a lie. I'm fucking done. With Mary, with everything. I don't want to see her again. I know she can afford her own place, so I don't feel bad about kicking her out. I don't care what she does now, I just know that I don't want her around anymore. I think I'm going to book myself some therapy sessions after all of this shit. It's not a happy update, but it's the only conclusion I've got. Thank you to everyone for all the advice you've given me over the many updates, I appreciate all of it. I'm sorry it's not cheerful, but just I hope I can move on from all of this. Update. I never thought I'd write any else to add on to this post, but holy shit did it blow up overnight. I never expected the amazing responses I got, nor the wonderful people in my messages sharing their stories and wishing me all the best. It honestly brought me to tears to just see this flood of understanding and empathy appear out of nowhere. Thank you to everyone who took the time to message me or comment. I've now read each and every one and am so thankful for all the support you've given me. I didn't think I'd update any further, but since there's been so much recent response, I can give you guys a little conclusion to how everything fully resolved. I didn't touch Reddit since my last update because I needed a lot of time to process what had happened, and having the place to myself was strange to adjust to at first, but as it turns out very necessary to begin the healing process. Mary moved out the following Saturday of the incident. She spent the following days after the blow-up moping around the flat and wanting to talk to me, but I refused and told her I needed space. Her mom came on the weekend to help her pack up her things as Mary was going to move back in with her. Her mom cleared up a lot of the questions I'd had on my mind. I'd always been told by Mary that her dad had been abusive, but her mom had loved him so much she wouldn't leave him, so she left home and was homeless when she was 14, sleeping under benches and train stations, just so she didn't have to be in the house with him. She only moved back in when her mom finally got the guts to divorce her dad. This story I had believed for 7 years turned out to be completely fake. Not only was Mary never homeless, but her father was never abusive and loved both her and her mum very much. The reason I never saw him around was because he'd moved to Australia to pursue his career, which was the real reason for the divorce. He loved his family but wanted success even more, so he left. Her mum told me that Mary's dad was always inviting her over for the summer holidays, but Mary never went because she hates flying. The day she moved out I stayed in my room and just hid away, but she knocked on my door before she left, and I answered. I still wanted to say goodbye. She had been my closest friend for so long that it didn't feel right just letting her fade out of my life without a send-off. She asked me if I wanted the money I gave her for her new car back, but I said no and told her to use it instead for therapy. She cried a lot and tried to hug me, but I kept her at a distance. I let her know this would be the final time we would ever see or speak to each other. I just couldn't be around her anymore with the knowledge of what she'd done. She left sobbing, and when she was gone, my little town flat felt suddenly bigger than it ever had before. It's been hard adjusting to being alone in this place. For the first week she was gone I still expected to see her in the kitchen every morning, or on the sofa when I got home. It was unsettling to say the least. I had my first therapy appointment last week, and I think it actually went well. I haven't been to therapy since I was in school, so I was very nervous to begin with, but my therapist is a very lovely lady who helped me understand that Mary's lies were her own making and I had nothing to do with their creation. A lot of people said she was probably a compulsive liar, maybe even a narcissist, and she seemed to agree loosely with that idea from what she'd heard. In yet another revelation, I met with Jane for coffee as she'd asked me to meet up and clear up some details. She told me she'd been wondering about why Mary would make me the target of her abuse story and started asking people in her office about the things Mary had said about me in the past. One that stood out was a painter, they work in art restoration and distribution, who used his art as a means of channeling his traumatic history with his abusive stepmother. Apparently, Mary had taken quite a liking to him, and so she had first told him about her abuse as a way of getting closer to him. She'd mentioned fancying him in the past, but I didn't think she'd go to such lengths to create a connection between them. He'd been furious when he heard the truth, and now doesn't speak to her anymore. Jane told me not many people do now. They were now all worried that she'd make up stuff about them and get them in trouble at work, so they're keeping her at arm's length as a result. I felt a bit bad when I heard this, as I know that Mary is having a miserable time with our friendship group kicking her out as well. Jane apologized to me, but I told her she had nothing to be sorry about, that this was all Mary and she was only trying to protect what she thought was an abused friend. We left each other on good terms, but we don't have much in common, so I doubt we'll be friends in the future. Claire came to stay with me for a bit, which has helped with the loneliness a little. It's hard to be alone after having someone practically attached to your hip with you for so long. Thank you to you guys as well who left such kind messages in the comments, many of which were very helpful. I am so thankful to all of you for your words of advice and comfort you've given me. It's made a shitty situation so much better to know there are people out there who've been through the same thing and offer words of encouragement to lost things like me. Thank you everybody. Stories number 5. Aita for not waiting for my partner at the police station after he was questioned for something he did behind my back. My boyfriend, 28M, and I, 31F, are both from country A, where the currency is controlled but only loosely enforced. I work in a nearby country B and get paid in $B. One day, a rando online reached out to my BF, asking if we'd like to exchange $B for $A. BF asked me if I'd be interested. I had him inquire about the exchange rate, but since it was much better than the Google rate, I told him it was probably a scam and thought nothing more of it. A month later, I got a call from the police in country A saying they had detained my BF for illicit foreign exchange and that I needed to come in for questioning. I excused myself from my work meeting and traveled for 2.5 hours back to country A, only to be told by the police that my boyfriend had gone ahead with the exchange without my knowledge, and the other party was indeed a scammer who was trying to launder money, hence why this was even on the police radar. I was questioned for hours about whether I'm an active scammer and if my work and income in $B were legitimate. When the police were finally done with my part, it was past 9 p.m. My BF was kept for more questioning, so I told him I needed to leave to catch the last train back to country B as I had some important meetings the next day. Since my BF was technically a victim of the scam and the amount he exchanged was fairly small, he was eventually released without charges at around 1 a.m., as we were both expecting. However, now he's complaining that I didn't wait at the police station until he was released for something he did on my behalf, as I'm the one who might need $A. From my POV, I'm mad that he did something I explicitly told him not to do, which caused me to miss most of my workday with no notice, and in spite of this I still traveled for 5 hours that day just to help clarify the situation, which showed plenty of support and care. Aita for not waiting for him to be released. Edit. Thanks for your responses everyone. Just some additional context to commonly asked questions. BF wanted me to wait for him to demonstrate I won't abandon him in crisis. BF thought he was not gullible as he made sure the scammer wired $$ first and even waited for it to clear. In many countries, the police have a lot more power and a lot less rules than what the US folks may be used to, so not going to the police when requested, not giving them answers are not viable options. Thankfully I do not have anything on my record other than I was being called in as witness. He did not use my $, otherwise I'd have known. He exchanged $B first, then exchanged it back for profit as the scammer offered good rates. Stories number 6. My childhood best friend of 30+ years just blew up my family, and I'm grieving the loss of everything. Edit. I've centered this post on Brenda, but let me be absolutely clear, my dad is just as complicit and equally at fault. It is morally wrong and absolutely deplorable for him to even fathom being with my supposed best friend, who was like his adopted daughter. They both should have known better, and their actions are disgusting. Second edit. My dad wasn't around a lot when we were literal children. He was in the army and away on duty a lot. It wasn't until we were around 13 years old that Bryn was around a lot, but even then my dad was a truck driver and gone most of the time. Adopted daughter was more a term of endearment for how close she was to me. We got even closer in our 20s and 30s. My mom and dad became a source of guidance for her more so in adulthood. I truly believe the romantic tension happened in the last 4 years. Orangal Post. I'm writing this from my home in BC. My entire world has been flipped upside down less than a week ago, and it's still incredibly raw. I'm almost 8 months sober, and honestly, this whole mess has been the toughest test of my life. I just need to get this whole crazy story out. Brenda, 35, was my first friend ever, like family, for over 30 years. She was basically an adopted daughter to my parents. My dad, 61, loves music, and Brenda's a great singer, so they always had this strong musical connection. I really valued that, but over the years, I started feeling uncomfortable with how close they seemed. I remember telling Brenda way before this trip that I felt jealous, not because I thought anything romantic was going on, but because I felt like I was being replaced as a daughter. I realized then that my own relationship with my parents wasn't as close as I wanted, and I understood it was my job to fix that. So, I never asked Brenda to back off. I figured it would be selfish, especially since her own parents weren't great, and she always said how much she appreciated my folks as figures in her life. I was really clear about that with her. It wasn't until I went to Ontario recently that things clicked. That's when I first told her that their joking back and forth looked and felt like flirting to me, and it made me really uncomfortable. Before that, I honestly never suspected anything romantic because I thought of her like a sister, and my dad as her father figure. But oh, how wrong I was. During that trip, Brenda dropped bombshells. She told me she'd been in love with my dad for over 4 years. For 4 years, my best friend was secretly wanting my father, my mother's husband, and denying everything to me. She told me my dad made her feel good, even better than me. She said if he wasn't my dad, they'd be riding off into the sunset together. When I tried to tell her how much this hurt, she just hit me with emotional blackmail. Your parents are my only friends, I have no one else, music is my only outlet, what am I supposed to do? She basically made me feel guilty for existing, for even thinking about asking her to keep her distance from my own dad. Then, less than a week ago, it all exploded. My mom saw Brenda rubbing my dad's foot. My mom, who has her own deep-seated trauma and addiction issues, finally realized what was happening. My dad called me shortly after and told me he had left her. I was furious. I called Brenda, and I'll admit I was yelling. It only lasted about 30 seconds. She just denied everything, saying nothing happened and I never touched him. Shortly after, Brenda's husband, Randall, reached out to me. He's also devastated. He told me that Brenda herself admitted to him that she and my dad are in love. And that's not all. She also told him that I am crazy and that I am in love with my father incestually. It's deplorable, disgusting, and I can't believe she would say something so vile about me, even to her own husband. Randall just told me what she said. He wasn't trying to cause trouble. I immediately called my dad to tell him about Brenda's disgusting accusation. He basically just said, that's horrible she would say something like that, but then dismissed Randall, saying he was probably just trying to say horrible things and shit about her. He didn't stand up for me at all. I then reiterated to my dad that if he chooses to be with Brenda, then I cannot be in his life. I told him he would be losing me, my sister, his grandkids, and other family and friends. He just said he needed to disappear for a few days and wouldn't tell me where he was going or confirm that Brenda wouldn't be there. I am absolutely devastated. I found out this morning that he's been still seeing her, and was at her mom's house with her last night. I understand that my parents' marriage was deeply troubled and likely going to end anyway. My mom's lifelong struggles with trauma, her isolating habits, and her addictions created many issues. My dad, being an outgoing person, often felt lonely. I see both their parts in why their marriage ended, but this does not make Brenda innocent. She knew their vulnerabilities. She knew I was her best friend, like a sister. She knew she was acting as an adopted daughter. Yet, for 4 years, she chose to pursue an inappropriate emotional and now confirmed romantic relationship with my dad, lie to me, manipulate me, and directly cause my parents painful, public separation. She should have backed off immediately when she developed those feelings. Instead, she stayed, lied, and destroyed everything. And now she's spreading vile, false accusations about me to discredit me. I'm grieving so much right now, the shattering of a 30-year friendship, the end of my parents' marriage, the profound betrayal and lack of defense from my dad, and the realization of how truly manipulative someone I loved could be. My sobriety is solid, thankfully, but this has been the most excruciating time of my life. I just needed to share this story. Stories number 7. Aita for ditching my sister and her kids mid-trip after she completely changed the plans on me. A few weeks ago, my sister, 33, asked me, 29F, to drive her and her 3 small kids, 6, 4, and 6 months, from Cincinnati to Huntsville, Alabama. She wanted to hang out with her best friend, and I figured I could use the time to see my long-distance girlfriend. Seemed fair. She also asked me to watch her kids and her best friends too, 14 and 9, for 2 days out of the 5-day trip. I agreed, not ideal, but whatever. I was also supposed to drive them all to Cleveland once it was over. We agreed I'd stay with her at her best friend's house. I confirmed the sleeping situation ahead of time, asking, "Are you sure they have room for me?" She said yes, they had a big house, an air mattress, couches, and if necessary, I could sleep in her bed. Cool. Nothing else was mentioned. Then our aunt passed away shortly before the trip. I drove everyone from Cleveland to Middletown for the funeral, the day before we were set to leave. I stayed with a friend in Cincinnati that night so I could actually sleep. My great-aunt, from Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, was at the funeral and told me my sister kept asking her over and over what time they'd be leaving and getting back, which seemed oddly specific at the time. We were supposed to leave for Huntsville at 10 a.m. the next day. Instead, she stalled us until nearly 2 p.m. I drove 4.5 hours with multiple stops for potty breaks. Then, as we're nearing Lawrenceburg, not even our destination, she suddenly says, "Oh, by the way, plans changed, me and the kids are going to Atlanta for a day." This meant I couldn't stay at her best friend's house, because apparently I'm not allowed to be alone in the house with her best friend's husband. I asked why she didn't tell me that earlier, and she snapped, "I'm grown, I don't have to tell you my plans ahead of time." I was pissed but said fine, I'd reach out to our great-aunt and see if I could stay with her that night. Then, about 30 minutes from Huntsville, she suddenly suggests I stay with our aunt the whole week because she doesn't think her best friend's husband is comfortable with me staying there at all. I didn't even respond. She took it upon herself to call our great-aunt anyway and arrange for me to stay. While stopped so the 6-year-old could pee, she jumped in the driver's seat, turned the car around, and drove me to Lawrenceburg. Like, that was never the plan. No discussion. Just dropped me off and yelled, "See ya Thursday." As in, to babysit the kids. Mind you, my girlfriend could only visit me one day instead of the 2 we had planned, since I was now way further from her. I was furious. It's now Wednesday. A reluctant friend came to pick me up, and I'm currently on my way back to Ohio. I haven't told my sister. She still thinks I'm watching her kids tomorrow and driving them all to Cleveland, so. Aita for leaving her and her kids mid-trip? Or was I just being used from the jump? Stories number 8. Entitled Mom Wants to Eat Our Wedding Cake Top. We're coming up on our M28, F28, first wedding anniversary. It falls on a Monday this year. My mom approached me recently and told me that we could cut into our wedding cake top with the whole family the day before our anniversary, because she wants to be a part of our anniversary celebration and the weekend is more convenient for everyone. I was planning to cut the cake with my wife only on our actual anniversary. The cake top is in my mom's freezer as she has a full-size freezer in her garage and we only have a small apartment-sized half-freezer. Of course, I doubt the cake will be as good as the day we had it, but it's more so for the symbolism of our anniversary. For my parents' anniversaries we've never been a part of it. They go on trips without us and have never asked us to join them, so I'm a bit frustrated at this double standard. My wife and I would not mind sharing the cake with them after our anniversary, but from talking with my mom it sounds like she wants us to make it into a family thing. Is that even normal? My mom also caused a lot of unnecessary drama and stress surrounding our wedding last year in that she wanted to forego hair and makeup my wife had arranged for and we covered the cost of and would laugh condescendingly at us when we would try to express our viewpoints on why these things were important to us. She also tried to invite a bunch of people even though she was not paying for anything. So from that experience leading up to our wedding I learned that she lacks respect for myself as an adult, my wife, and our marriage. My wife and I thought the best way to resolve this is to perform a cake heist, as I don't want to risk giving my mom a heads up and allowing something to happen. I'm not sure if she would eat it directly out of spite but I also wouldn't put it past her. What is everyone's thoughts on a cake heist? Just going over there unannounced to secure the cake. Update. I have kind of a boring update. My mom texted right before I was going to head to her house for the cake heist that I could do whatever I wanted in terms of celebrating with the cake. I told her that we wanted to celebrate our anniversary as a couple first with the cake. A family member had caught wind of what my mom was planning and told her we might want to celebrate this anniversary as a couple for sentimental purposes, so the groundwork was already laid for me. It turned out to not be much of a heist unfortunately, and it was civil, if not a bit tense. As I was leaving her house, she made a comment under her breath that the cake could feed 20 people. I just ignored her and headed to the car. We had the cake on our anniversary and it was actually really good. It was maybe a little bit more dry, but not significantly. My mom still wanted to celebrate us after our actual anniversary celebration took place and we agreed because we got to celebrate in our own way first and we only managed to eat half the cake and we didn't want it to go to waste. The family celebration went pretty well. She insisted on getting another cake even though we were bringing half of a 20-person cake and went to a bakery that specializes in the same kind of cake that was kind of far from her. I told her she didn't have to go so far, but she insisted and apparently it took an entire day and there was a list of complaints, but I ignored those and hung out with the rest of my family and had a good time. She told me that her friend said she scored major mother-in-law points going out of her way to get a cake for our anniversary, but I'm not sure it felt like that after the initial cake heist drama. From my previous post's comments, I'll definitely keep my eyes open to this behavior in the future and not let her interfere with my wife if when we have kids, as there were a lot of comments also warning about that. This situation has really driven it home that I need to set boundaries with unreasonable people and that can be uncomfortable, but it's necessary and the peace in doing so is worth it. Thank you all for your insight and hopefully this was a good update even if it lacked a true heist. Stories number 9. Aita for saying I owe my ex's wife nothing and being quietly glad my kids don't consider her their second mom. My 30F marriage to my ex, 32M, ended during my pregnancy with our son who is now 8. We divorced formally when he was 2 months old. But we separated at the very beginning of the pregnancy and co-parented our daughter, who is now 10, throughout that time, as difficult as it was. After the divorce was over things turned more sour and we avoided each other except for exchanges. 2.5 years after our divorce was finalized he introduced me to his then girlfriend now wife, 33F, at a custody exchange. At first she seemed nice enough and I had no problem with her. I even thought she was nicer than him. But something I didn't know at the time was she took offense to me handing the kids to my ex instead of offering her one or both of them. I found this out 2 months later when our daughter's preschool had their play and she accused me of hogging my son throughout the performance and not giving her the chance to hold him. Then she brought up the exchange. She told me she was going to be their mommy too and I needed to get over my selfish hogging of our children, and by our she meant, hers, mine and ex's. My ex stood back and said nothing. I told her that I wasn't hogging anyone and at the exchange I did what I always do when the kids go to their dad. She told me I just didn't want to accept that soon enough I'd be number 2 mom and maybe they'd eventually call me by my first name and she'd be mom. After that she was tense whenever we attended the same event and the kids weren't exactly happy to see her, something my ex said was all my fault because I didn't offer to let her hold our son, etc. Then she reported me to CPS with several false allegations of abuse. Her claims were wild and CPS cleared me of all wrongdoing. They said the report was anonymous but then my ex's girlfriend told me it was disgusting that anyone could clear me and that she knew better and then she said she'd prove I didn't deserve my kids. Following on from that they booked their wedding on my custody time and it was when I had plans for us prearranged. I refused to cancel and told them to blame my ex since he had the schedule and calendar same as me. We always had a shared one through an app that told us whose week it was and what plans that couldn't be changed were. My commitment was first. They kept the date and got married without the kids there which I was hated for. His wife has been vile to me ever since. She makes disgusting comments about my appearance and has called me a prostitute many times. She tried to turn my ex's family against me and when it didn't work she tried to accuse me of parental alienation of the children. For years I have heard that the kids aren't as bonded with her as X would expect or as they want the kids to be, and they only want me. X tried to get more custody as a result, and the judge told him there was no cause for an increase from 50-50 custody, which we had from the beginning. X brought up the conversation again last month when we had an IEP meeting for our son. He told me that his wife has been around the kids since they were very young and she should be second mom to them, but they always correct him or her when they call her that, and they say she's not to others who call her their mom too. He told me I could be kinder to her and help with that. He said as a mom it's my job to make sure all the kids' parents are respected and loved and treated well. And he told me she takes good care of our kids, so I owe her some help with this. I told him I owe her nothing and to go back to those CPS allegations and realize I will never owe her or like her. Then via the app just a couple of weeks ago my ex said he feels like I'm glad our kids don't call her mom or consider her their second mom. He told me that I'm just being petty and an asshole when I could be thinking of the kids' best interest. And that saying I owe his wife nothing is a bad attitude to hold as well. I won't lie, I am crazy happy the kids aren't super into this woman. I have never discouraged it and I always keep them out of drama the best that I can, and by that I mean, I can't influence what they see or hear at their dad's house. But I am quietly super happy. X isn't wrong about how I feel. Aita for saying I owe his wife nothing and for being glad my kids don't consider her their second mom. Stories number 10. Ada won't allow sister to adopt newborn. I, 22M, have been harassed by my parents and sister, 37F, for the past 4 days now. My ex, 22F, had a baby about a week ago. Failed birth control on both of us. She kept telling me that she wanted this baby despite knowing I would only financially provide. We discussed abortion and adoption, I didn't force her to either option. Now that the baby is here and in NICU, my ex nowhere to be found. Ignored all my calls, texts. Nothing has been posted on her socials. Her parents can't even get in touch. One of the nurses handed me the car seat from my ex's car. My sister says she is willing to step up and adopt this baby. I'm not comfortable with that, because her husband, 47M, creeps me out. I don't have good feelings about him. I don't have proof, but I feel like he's on some sort of list. So I found a nice couple who wants to adopt this baby. They have been visiting us at the NICU, getting to know me and spend time with the baby. I like this couple. My family doesn't, since they want a close adoption. Plus the couple is 2 women and my parents are ignorant. The adoption will go through in a couple of weeks in case my ex shows up. For now they could be the legal guardian until everything legal gets settled. Also I took a paternity test and am the biological father. Ada for not allowing my family to adopt this baby. Edit, I brought up some of the questions some of you had with the hospital liaison. I wasn't informed that my ex had asked about safe haven laws. I believe they were giving her or me a grace period to keep biological parents with the biological child. The couple was found with the help of hospital staff. They were looking to adopt another newborn, but that fell through. I was very vocal with anyone who would listen that I was not going to be a good dad and I needed help with options that I have. The reason I believe her husband is on some sort of a list, I was 15 when I met my sister's husband. He would give me looks that made me feel uncomfortable. He also tried to get me alone with him, so I would try to stay around my mom all the time when he was around. I refused to go to their house for any holidays. This does make my parents upset with me and has for years. I told my mom how I felt when I was younger and she brushed it off. Comments. Commenter 1. Hi. I'm adopted and from kinda a similar situation. Just a little opposite, a few things different. Main thing being my situation, my mom, her family was in the picture and my dad was gone out of the picture. But still, while I wasn't the product of failed birth control, my parents were addicts. I know nobody forced my mom to have me, and while her family did make it clear to her they would be there for her to help her emotionally, and make sure I, the baby, was okay, they would not be there financially for her or me. Long story short, my mom couldn't be a mom, she was in an endless battle with drugs and ultimately chose them over me. She decided adoption was what had to happen and her family didn't fight her on it except her one brother, who wanted to then step up and adopt me himself. My mom ignored his wishes and put me up for adoption, closed, anyways. I got adopted into a wonderful family, with 3 older siblings. My life has been amazing and I couldn't have asked for anything better, truly. My mom picked my forever parents. She couldn't have done a better job and for that I'll be forever thankful to her for that. It's the most selfless thing she could have done and I can't imagine how hard it was for her. Hope you're not remotely close to an asshole for not letting your family adopt this baby. Put aside the gut feeling about your sister's creepy husband, and think about yourself. I truly can't imagine you having to watch someone else raise your child and not be able to do anything or have a say in it. I also, as an adopted child, can't imagine growing up in that situation. Knowing I'm calling my actual biological father my uncle, and I should hypothetically be respecting him like my dad, but I'm not, and I don't have to, but I have to listen to these people who adopted me who are really my aunt and uncle. Do you get what I'm saying? If you have found a lovely couple, who is lesbian or not, and you want the adoption to be open, then do it. It's your child, your life. When it comes down to it, you're doing the most selfless thing someone could ever do. You're giving this child beat the shot at life you possibly could. If your family can't understand that, you definitely don't want them raising your kid. Reply, thank you for sharing your story. You made me feel so much better about my choice. I am so glad your mother was able to gift you to your family. Commenter 2, NTA, they have no sway here. It's your baby and the mother isn't present. You're the de facto guardian. I hope the adoption goes through and the baby has a good life loved by their parents and safe. If you have a bad feeling about your sister's hubby, that's completely valid. I am worried that your ex is dealing with postpartum depression or worse. She probably needs help wherever she is. Reply, the postpartum depression is worrying me. I still care about my ex. I also want this adoption to go through. Thank you for helping me feel better about the nonsense my family is putting me through. Commenter 3, having a baby in the NICU is extremely traumatic too, and I'm assuming since the baby is in there she had a traumatic birth on top of that. I'm glad that you care about your ex and worry about her. Hopefully she will get the help and care she needs. But make sure you take care of yourself too. All this must be hard on you as well. The hospital should have resources, don't be afraid to utilize them. Don't listen to your family, and always listen to your gut. Hugs from a NICU mom. Commenter 4, always trust your gut. Do not let your sister have this baby if her husband gives you the creeps. Those feelings arise for a reason and you cannot put your child in danger. Update, the police have found my missing ex. She was checked out by medical. I introduced her to the couple that want to adopt the newborn and my ex agrees that they would be perfect parents. The newborn will be going home with the couple after being cleared to leave. The couple is also going to pick the name. The adoption process is going to take a while. For now they will have temporary guardianship over the newborn. We have already started the process. My ex and I got plenty of photos with the newborn and some with the couple. I am still no contact with my parents and told my sister that I believe her husband is a pedophile that was never convicted. She refuses to talk to me. I am working on repairing my relationship with my ex, because I still love her. I am also working on repairing my relationship with her parents. She told me that it's okay to share the reason she took off. My ex, I called you when I started having bad contractions, but you never answered. I took that as you fully committing to not be around for this baby and I got scared. Nobody was there. You weren't there for me. I would have been there had I answered that phone call. I didn't answer, because I was at work and I didn't know that she was going to give birth early. I feel terrible for putting her though that. Edit, you know what, I'm going to be the asshole here and let my ex handle the situation now that she's back. Obviously her choice is better since she is the mother. She can decide to continue with a guardianship process for later adoption or to raise the baby with my financial support only. I'm wiping my hands about this situation and walking out. Going to focus on myself. Good luck to her. Comments. Commenter 1, please start getting therapy, individual first and then couples therapy. You both would benefit so much from learning how to communicate with each other. I know pregnancy hormones can really mess with one's mind. I really wish all the best for both of you. Reply, therapy is a great idea. I'll talk to my ex about it. I know she would benefit from seeing a professional after that kind of trauma. I need someone from this stressful event. Commenter 2, both of you require therapy, not just her. Reply, I am seeing what my insurance can cover. I know I need to see a professional when, hate admitting this, I started crying in my car in the hospital parking lot. I really don't know why I was crying. I don't understand what upset me so much. I was having an okay day considering everything going on around me. Commenter 3, please could you confirm if I got this right? In your last post you said your ex, or your still GF, wanted to keep the baby even knowing you were not interested in raising it. You said you would merely fulfill financial obligations. Then she has contractions and calls you, but once you don't answer, she takes it as a confirmation you don't want to be physically involved, for the birth and raising. That shatters her mentally, she has some sort of breakdown and she disappears the same day she gives birth, must have been devastating both physically and emotionally, and is now found. The same day police finds her, you present her with the couple that wants to adopt the baby. And you now want to repair the relationship with her. What I'm worried about is, that she is consenting to this adoption in an environment of pressure, and in a very short time frame. I have no idea how this legally works and if she is allowed to change her mind at all before the official adoption takes place. Also, I feel that you want the adoption to take place much more than your ex taking the baby and you being financially responsible, even without being involved in its upbringing. You're also telling her now that you want to have a relationship again, if I interpret this correctly, almost as if it would be a reward for her behaving, consenting to adoption. Please do correct me if and where I am wrong. I wish to be wrong, by the way. I'm concerned for the baby's mom, that's all. Reply: I was not the one who broke things off. My ex ended our relationship when I told her I would only financially be supporting the baby. I would still have been in a relationship with her. My girlfriend was found yesterday. Today she met with the couple at her request, not mine. After seeing them holding the baby, she admitted to me that the couple had a deep emotional bond to that baby, more than she felt when she felt the baby. I would never force her to give up her baby. This baby isn't meant to be ours though. We both understand that. We're too young and not in a good financial position. My ex is still earning a degree. I'm still working my way to management. This baby is meant for that couple who can offer so much more. Babies need more than just love, regardless of what people say. I would never force her into a relationship with me for any reason, especially not as an award. My ex knows this about me. We've been together as a couple since 8th grade. It's okay you're concerned for her. I'm grateful for that. Commenter 4. So, you thought there was some scenario where it'd continue the relationship with the mom of your child, but also not be in the child's life except financially? How the heck could that have worked? Commenter 5. I think he gave options, because he mentioned they discussed abortion in his last post, and that she chose to keep the baby and end the relationship, but then freaked out when the reality of that choice settled in. Reply: for one, we don't live together. She still lives with her parents since she goes to college. I live alone. My apartment is too small to support 2 people. I would like any other guy in a relationship with a single mom. Stories number 11. My fiancé invited his ex-situationship for our wedding behind my back. I, 23F, am getting married in January and just found out my fiancé, Mark, 25M, fake name, invited his old situationship to our wedding without consulting me. For context, me and Mark met on a dating app 2 years ago after he broke up a relationship. To be honest, it's quite confusing what he and Tracy, 22F, had. They met because of a mutual friend and started to develop feelings for each other. Mark told me they never dated and slept together, but it was more than friendship. Until today he keeps her love letters, gifts and talks about her. Tracy and him tried to stay in contact after the breakup, staying friends, but she ghosted him after finding out we started to date. From what I saw in her social media, she's in a relationship, so I'm not worried about her trying to get with my fiancé again. They haven't been in contact for 2 years, but he still has her number and email. I found out about him inviting her after I checked again our guest list and finding her name. I know Tracy is not a threat to our relationship, but Mark inviting her behind my back makes me feel bad about our whole wedding. He told me he doesn't feel anything for her, yet he made sure to send her an invitation. This is probably me being insecure, but my fear of him not getting over her is slowly creeping inside my heart. I don't want to lose him. Comments. I don't get why he is not over her, especially if they were never a thing. From what Mark told me, he was the one who didn't want a relationship since Tracy just started life. Downvoted. I don't know why he is not over her even after 2 years of no contact. I know Tracy is part of his past, his story, but it's been such a long time. He doesn't talk about her all the time. It's some comments from time to time. I believe that is not right to erase her since Tracy was part of his story, but I did got the ick in the beginning when I saw her letters and gifts. Her going to the wedding doesn't make me uncomfortable since I know she won't do anything. The problem is my fiancé and the fact he invited her to the wedding without notifying me. If Mark wanted her there, fine. But I just hate the fact he didn't told me beforehand, and it's making me think he lied about getting over her. They are in no contact for 2 years. She immediately blocked him after knowing we were seeing each other. The whole situation is making me second guess our wedding. I haven't confronted Mark yet. I just found out a few hours ago and I'm waiting for him to come back. Tracy has a boyfriend and is expecting. Also, she was the one who blocked him everywhere after finding out we were dating. He has her email and I believe she didn't block him there. There was her name, but Tracy didn't confirm her presence. Update. After reading the comments and talking with some friends, my heart finally understood Mark never really got over Tracy. In the beginning, I was in denial, but I went out with Tom, 24M, his best friend of years, to understand about what really happened between them. From what he told me, Tracy and Mark met because of some friends in common. She just got into the university and was 17 at the time, while Mark was already almost graduating. They stayed friends for 2 years and feelings started to blossom. Mark was already working while she was still in college, he only wanted to formally date her after her graduation, so it was never a thing, even though they shared love letters, gifts, and shared almost every holiday together. Tom told me everyone from their old friend group thought they would marry since they were so sweet together. So, their breakup was really unpredictable. Tracy was the one who broke up with Mark due to their religious values not lining up, as she wanted to save herself until marriage. In the end, they decided it was better to go separate ways and maybe try again after a few years. But after me and Mark started to date, Tracy realized that it was pointless to wait for him and started to see other people too, so she blocked in everything, except email, just to have a clean beginning. In the end, I finally realized Mark is just hopeful that Tracy would come back to him due to their talks of trying again after a while. It honestly hurt so much, as I loved him so much. I still didn't confront him since I'm still shaken up, but I don't know if this marriage will happen. I am going to update once I calm down and confront him. Update 2. It's been a while since the last update and I'm here to announce the wedding has been called off. My parents are the one canceling everything for me. It's like I returned to my childhood when mom and dad had to solve my problems. I confronted Mark after talking with Tom and made him aware of everything I've been dealing. His reaction at the beginning was dismissive and was almost as if he was trying to escape from this situation. In the end, Mark said he never loved someone like Tracy because it was pure and innocent. She reminded him that not everything is about carnal desire, and in the darkest moments of his life, Tracy was like a sunlight. Hearing the man you love admitting how much he loved another woman is so hurtful. During the talk, I started to cry, bawling my eyes out. Mark had the audacity to say he loves me, but it's a different kind of love. I asked why he invited her to our wedding and he was speechless. Why he had to throw away our future for something in the past. This hurts so much. Mark told me he knew Tracy didn't block him on email, since he was the one who helped her get her first job and a lot of professional stuff was also involved. This is how he was able to send her our wedding invitation, but he meant no harm. When I asked what he meant with this, Mark just said he wanted to make her watch us together and realize what she lost because he was hurt that Tracy was pregnant and not married. The moment Mark mentioned about Tracy's pregnancy, a red alarm started to echo in my head. How did you know about her pregnancy? You said she blocked you everywhere. I could see panic in his eyes as he started to stutter. In the end, I made him give me his phone and I found out more than 5 accounts to stalk Tracy. My stomach felt sick and the urge to vomit was overwhelming. In the end, I decided to call off the engagement since he was a creep. Mark threw himself on the floor asking for forgiveness and he loves me, just in a different way compared to Tracy, and was just hurt that she gave herself to another man while he begged her countless times for sex. This made me feel even more disgusted with him because he felt entitled to her virginity and body. I left without taking even a bag with me. Everything is just too much. I can't believe I spent 2 years loving a stalker, a man-child. Oh, I also told Tracy everything in his accounts. I don't know if she saw my messages, but I hope she does. The jealousy I once felt for her transformed into pity, as no woman should go through what Mark has done. Mark wants to meet up with me and doesn't want to break up, but I'm just so tired. Small update, Tracy messaged me and wants to grab a coffee with me. Comment, I'm thinking about leaving the US and going to another country. Social media are not for me, so it's harder for him to stalk me. I don't have anything of great value in Mark's house, except some clothes and makeup, so I'd see if he throws it away. Update 3. I think this is my last update, since I've already met up with Tracy and talked about what happened. Me and her met at a cafe, and in the beginning I was really nervous, as I didn't know what was her reaction because her reply was only, "Hi, let's talk over a cup of coffee." When I was waiting for her, I could feel my back sweating and overall, lots of emotion. Tracy arrived and I finally understood why Mark was so obsessed with her, as she is definitely one of the most beautiful women I saw. She's pretty on the pictures, but personally she looks better. Tracy said hello to me and asked if I'm willing to go to her house to talk, since being outside for too long makes her really tired. We ordered some coffee to go and it was super awkward. So now let's talk about what she told me. First of all, she apologized for being the reason why now I'm single, which I assured her is not her fault. Tracy said she received the invitation, but was simply not interested in participating in our wedding as she was already in a happy relationship and is pointless to see a person from the past. With the story Tom and Mark told me, I got curious and asked about them staying friends, as it sounded like she wanted to stay with him after the breakup, and it's the polar opposite of her behavior. Tracy was extremely uncomfortable with this question, but still explained to me why she said that. In the beginning, she was really in love with Mark because he was her first love. She described him as a protector, someone trustworthy, handsome and kind, as he always showered her in gifts and travels. Everything was fine and sweet, but over time, Mark started to beg her for sex so much to the point of her pretending to be sick just to avoid him. She just didn't want to sleep with him and had some sort of blockage, like a sixth sense telling her to not do this. She was sick and tired about all of this and used the fact that her parents are extremely religious to justify why sex was off the chart. This led to a fight, which Mark never told me, and them breaking up. But 2 weeks after, they started to talk again as she felt in debt with him as he helped her get a job in a prestigious company and he spent a lot of money on her with trips, foods, and presents. One of the gifts was a Rolex for her 18th birthday, which made me mad since he never spent so much money on me. So when Tracy found out me and Mark was seeing each other, she felt relieved and finally had a proper reason to block him everywhere since he was still sometimes hinting about them sleeping together. In the end, I told her in the entire relationship, Mark would sometimes talk about her and in the beginning it was kind of weird, but I just brushed it off since she was part of his story. Oh, I also talked about Mark's numerous accounts and in the beginning she didn't believe me. But I showed her the accounts I knew, which was creepy since they all had female names, followers, and pictures. All of them looked real. Her account is public, so I asked Tracy to make it private. She made a new account with her Korean name and deactivated the old one. We had fun and became friends. She is a really sweet person and I saw how her boyfriend treated her like a queen. I'm happy she found love and got rid of Mark. Update 4, new. Hi, guys. Recently, I logged into my account again and decided to give an update about my life as it is so crazy for me that almost a year ago, my tears were uncontrollable because of a man. Tracy got married a few weeks ago and I was invited. It was a beautiful ceremony and her baby was part of it. It was refreshing to see the glow on her face and that she found the one. We're not too close, but still is nice to hang out with her and accompany her journey as a wife and mother. Meanwhile, I am not interested in relationships for a while. I got a promotion and thinking about moving to another state as my company offered a position with better pay. Not being engaged actually made me concentrate a lot more on my job as I became able to do more extra hours. So, I don't have much updates about Mark since I cut off contact with him, his family and friends that took his side. The last thing I heard is that he was telling everyone how controlling and abusive I was and he had to call off our engagement. This is not my business anymore and what he says doesn't matter. But Mark is definitely miserable. I am going to take this summer and go to Greece just to celebrate life. Thank you all for the advices. If I didn't post it on Reddit almost a year ago, I would have been married to a guy who never saw me as first option. Stories number 12. AITJ for refusing to lend money to my friend after she enrolled her son in a super expensive college. My friend, Marie, has a son who just graduated from high school. Super smart kid. He got accepted to a bunch of colleges, in-state and out-of-state. She told me last week her son decided an out-of-state college and it's $65,000 a year with room and board added in. I get it, college is expensive, but he got accepted into schools in his home state that would have been $30,000 a year cheaper and at least one is objectively a much better school. She's a single mother and the father has no ability to help cover any of the costs. I was like, he has no idea what it will mean to graduate with $250,000 in debt. It could ruin his life. Then she told me, he plans to go to law school afterward and she's going to pay for it all so he doesn't have any debt. But I know her situation, she was laid off last year and is in her 50s and hasn't found another job. There's no way she can afford it. She just kept saying, but he has hit heart set on that school. I don't have kids, but I know that in my own case, I got accepted at an expensive college out of high school and didn't go because my mom and I agreed we couldn't afford it. I ended up going to a community college for 2 years, and then got a scholarship to a small private school for the last 2 years. I left college without any debt. I've been grateful for that my whole adult life. My career has shifted and pivoted, and I doubt going to the other school would have made that much difference, TBH. She called me today and asked if she could borrow $3,500. She doesn't have enough money for her mortgage. I lent her money when she got divorced, $8,000, and she never paid me back. I just feel like giving her the money is reinforcing what I think is a really terrible decision by her 17-year-old. Stories number 13. AITA for telling my niece her mother tried to give her away as a baby. I, 28M, got into a huge argument with my sister, 31F, last week. The argument had been simmering for a long time, as tension between us has been high for years. When I was 17 my sister had an accidental pregnancy, and when she told her boyfriend he left her. Due to our religious family she kept the baby, but once her daughter was born she panicked. She didn't want to go through the legal troubles of adoption, so she asked that me and our mother took care of her kid. There was no legal custody, but it was an agreement made within the family. I essentially raised my niece from birth until she was 3. With help from my mother, as she was working to support the new addition to the family. I dropped out of school and took care of her, fed her, changed her and taught her how to walk while my mom was away at work. Then, my sister met her now husband, cleaned her life up and suddenly wanted her kid back. No warning, she moves back to home, says thanks and starts being a mother. My niece is now 11 and doesn't remember all I and her grandmother did. It's been a family agreement to forget this all happened until the argument. My sister made a petty comment during a fight, where she implied since I lost my job recently I can't handle responsibility. I snapped and told her she was lucky her daughter was too young to remember how she abandoned her. My niece overheard this, and now wants to know what I meant. I outright said that her mother didn't think she could raise her, and left her with me and grandma. Now my sister says I traumatized her daughter, and my mom says I should have kept the secret like we agreed. I think this secret couldn't stay kept forever. Am I the asshole? Edit. Hello, I'm here to give some more context and answer a bunch of the most common questions. When the argument happened, I had put my niece to bed hours ago. We were at my mother's house, and so no one knew she was going to come in. Secondly, after my niece was born my sister moved states to get a job. Also, she was 20 and I was 17. And finally, in the aftermath I said that we can't go back now since my niece already overheard us all talking, so as a group with her stepfather we should get together to explain it better. But since the event, a week ago, my sister has been saying that we should blow over it and that my niece will forget if we don't bring it up again. I'm frustrated at this, and at how she's now slating me alongside my mother. My mother believes I'm in the wrong for arguing with my sister in the first place, whereas I say she has no right to criticize me for losing my job when I lost my education to caring for her child. I'm trying to get in contact with my niece's stepfather to ask him for his opinion. Edit 2. Yes, I was asked by my mom to drop out of school and I did so. I didn't go to college later. I had no intention of hurting my niece, but she had already overheard what was said so I felt that keeping it from her now would just cause her confusion. I'm now trying to backpedal the best I can with the family's assistance, to be able to properly explain the situation to her. But, my sister and my mother both want to just pretend this never happened and hope my niece forgets as she grows up. Edit 3. I'm starting to wish I was clearer from the beginning. I said I was 17 when my sister had the accidental pregnancy. I meant that I was 17 when the baby was born. Stories number 14. Aita for refusing to help my dad's wife with my half-siblings now that he's MIA. My parents got divorced when I, 16M, was 2. Until last year I split my time between them an equal amount. When I was 6 my dad remarried and had more kids with his wife. I never liked her much and we argued a lot. She hates my mom too, always did. Then last year a bunch of stuff changed. My dad was promoted and his base is now out of state. So he and mom agreed to change the custody schedule and she has me full-time and I see him when he's home. Him and his wife separated after that but they're still married and he goes to stay some weeks when he's home, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But he's gone way more than he's there. His wife was pissed about the custody schedule with me changing and she tried to say she had raised me for 9 years and should be allowed to keep me in her and my half-siblings' lives even if dad isn't always there. I didn't want to go so mom said no and dad was like whatever is fine by me. Since I turned 16 she's been more pushy about me being more involved in her household and not staying away when dad isn't around. She told me I should be helping out now because she's essentially a single parent even if she's not. I really don't want to be around her and I told her I don't give a fuck about helping her. But she says I owe my family more and she's family whether I like it or not and so are my half-siblings. I'm fine with my half-siblings but not close and I don't need to see them more than I do. She's getting angrier at me and at mom because I won't help and won't spend a few hours or nights at her house when dad isn't there. She's even angrier that I told her she has no authority over me and my mom has custody now. When she brought up how she's been around most of my life I told her I never liked her and since it looks like her and dad are basically over I don't need to have anything more to do with her. She told me I'm disgusting for being so unhelpful and for turning my back on my family. I don't care what she thinks. But I know that this was harder on my half-siblings and the last time I saw them they said they missed me. It was awkward because I don't miss them when I don't see them for months. But all they knew was me being there 2 weeks a month. Now I'm maybe there 3 weeks a year. Stories number 15. Entitled Sister Disowned Family, Still Expects Presents. Several years ago my sister heard a rumor about my brother and automatically went onto social media, shared personal details about him and refused to let him come near her children going forward. This rumor turned out to be nothing to do with my brother. My sister continued to share false accusations about him and refused to listen to anyone. Her relationship with different family members disintegrated, and she sent a message to all family members threatening to disown them and not let them see her children unless they cut my brother off. I didn't agree to that and neither did any other family so she carried through with her threat and blocked everyone online and stopped attending family events. A few months of silence followed before being interrupted by an email sent to half the family. She accused everyone of upsetting her children because they didn't send them any presents or Christmas money for Christmas. The explanation was that we would have, but the last time someone had contacted her, she had sent them a reply full of insults and threatened to file a police report if anyone contacted her. This continued to the next birthday for one of her children where, again, she messaged family saying that she thought we would have learned our lesson from Christmas. She followed this up by expecting my parents to kick my brother and I out of the house for a week so her and her children could stay with them whilst they were in between moving homes, despite not having talked to my parents for months. This was shot down but not without social media posts about family ignoring family and started accusing us of disowning her instead and that we hated her kids. We still don't talk, and whilst I miss my nieces and nephews, I don't miss my sister's entitlement. TLDR, sister disowned family, still expected them to get her children presents and send them money. Stories number 16. He's been pursuing me, then sent me a spreadsheet asking to be reimbursed for our dates. Am I overreacting? Hi everyone, I, F23, have been dating this guy, M32, for a little over a month now. He was very persistent in pursuing me, constantly texting, making plans, asking me to go on runs, bike rides, and beach days. We live in Florida, and inviting me to dinner, bars, and even paying for Ubers to and from his place. We were hanging out at least 4 times a week. Everything felt like it was going somewhere. He'd been slowly building things up and even waited weeks to finally kiss me. Then, out of nowhere, he sends me a literal Excel spreadsheet with a breakdown of dates, how much he spent, and a column with my name, asking me to reimburse him. I'm attaching it because I truly can't believe it. It felt transactional and weirdly formal, especially since he was the one initiating nearly all the plans. What's even more confusing, after sending this, he still insists on seeing me and continuing to date. Like, you want to invoice me and kiss me? And for context, I've picked up the tab quite a few times, dinner, drinks, etc., without making a thing of it. I've never asked him to pay me back or keep score. I thought we were just getting to know each other and splitting things organically like adults, especially since he's about 10 years older than I am. So am I overreacting or underreacting? I can't tell if this is just him being organized or if it's a huge red flag. The text messages. Guy sends a breakdown of everything spent. Guy, hate to ask but can you Venmo or Zelle me some dollar for the last few weeks? I know you got me some stuff which I'm appreciative of, and definitely happy to cover most things like our date night and drinks and stuff, but you never paid me for the first round of stuff from a few weeks ago and money's a little tight for me and a source of stress RNW working 2 jobs etc. Me, sure. Guy, okay, I think $100 is fair unless you have any objections. Me, are you charging me for in between day? Guy, I'm charging you $100 for the $500 of stuff LVE covered since we've started hanging. You never paid me the last time asked for some. Me, alright, maybe we shouldn't go out as much. Guy, LOL can't tell Ifer but hurt I'm asking for $100. Me, yeah I do like the green. She's, did you get my Venmo? Guy, I did. Thank you very much. Coincidentally, redacted, texted me TD saying he was owed $2. I paid him the $90 you owed him from a while back. I was hoping you could reimburse me for that eventually. Me, oh sure. Sending now. Guy, I appreciate it very much delivered. How was work and dinner live? Top comment. Commenter 1. Okay, you sent him the money. You even sent the money to repay what he gave to his buddy you owed money to. Do send the mutual a note that says, hey, X says he gave you the money I owed you. I've already repaid him for it. We're good, right? Just in case he didn't give the money to the mutual like he said. I mean, someone who's going to send an invoice after the fact, who says he's got money troubles just gives his buddy money you owe, not knowing if you'll pay him back. That just seems sus. Ask if you should go through your bank or credit card notes for the times you paid, and write up a bill for him to pay you back. Do you think that he would consider that to be reasonable? Because, at 23, I really can't afford to pay for a 32-year-old. I believe he would flip out. You need to bow out of this relationship. Standard custom is the person that asks the other out is the one that pays. If not, it should be Dutch right from the start. It's odd he's so OCD about tracking what he spent with you, and yet he apparently can't budget or stay within his means. The two just don't compute. How accurate is his list? Because if he's not getting by on 2 jobs, he shouldn't be spending $500+ on socializing, especially when you're good with runs, bike rides, and other low no-cost hangouts. You might want to consider asking, hey, we're going Dutch, right? On the first few dates with the next person you go out with. That way you can budget what you get either way. I tend to order less expensive stuff on someone else's dime, and you don't get an unanticipated surprise at the end of the meal. Or a month later, though I'd be shocked if anyone else pulled that stunt. Update. Hi everyone, thanks so much for all the responses on my last post, it blew up and I appreciate all the feedback. I wanted to add some details that didn't make it into the original post, since a lot of people were asking for clarification. In the spreadsheet he sent me, I'm the green column, and no, it's not cigars cigs for me, lol. Green also referred to a $200 pair of Hoka shoes he texted me about buying. He took me to a nicer spot called in between days for a more intimate dinner. The other man on the spreadsheet asking for payment was actually his twin, who sometimes joins us on double dates, but usually picks up the check himself. I always offer to pay my share. Money is genuinely stressful for me, and I hate the feeling of owing anyone. He always refused in the moment, then turned around and invoiced me formally later. I would have much rather just paid my own way from the start than have any of this happen. Final update. I sent him the last payment and then blocked him and deleted his contact. I didn't want him to hold anything over me. It sucks that I paid him, but at least it's over. Thanks to everyone who weighed in. Stories number 17. I wants to give her daughter a similar name as her niece, brother's daughter. My brother and Sal just had a baby girl and named her Francesca. The worst part is that she is named after my Sal's mother, Francesca, who goes by Frances. It never occurred to me they would name her after her mom. We love Frances so much and we're going to use it for our baby, if it's a girl, due in a few months. But now this happened. We don't live in the same town. We live about 35 minutes away from each other. We only see each other at family events, but I image now having two girls close in age we may see each other more. Too close. Or can I still use? Frances is also my husband's great-grandmother's name. He was not close to her at all and the name was not picked in honor of her, but can we say it was? Ugh, I already bought a name sign, and some personalized items. Some notable comments. Commenter 1. That's a tough one. So many cousins in my family have variations of the same name, Mary, Maria, Margaret and Anne-Marie. Use Francis. Commenter 2. Personally I think it's fine. There is no guarantee you'll see each other more often, unless you've both agreed to already. My name rhymes with my cousin's, there's only letter that's different, they are different spellings, but the sounds are the same minus the first letter, think like Sam and Pam. It's never been a problem within my own family. Ops reply to a comment. Not sure what they plan on calling the baby, we only met her once and so far just called her by her full name, but I feel like nicknames come later. Update. So long story short, we had Frances picked out for our daughter, we never told anyone. My brother and sister-in-law had their baby and named her Francesca. I was devastated and ultimately decided to pick a different name. They chose Francesca after my sister-in-law's mother, and to make it worse they call the baby Frances for short, face with rolling eyes. I went with my second choice Florence and I'm not loving it at all. I'm really sad I didn't just stick with Frances. My daughter is only 2 months old. Should I just change her name to what I originally wanted, or should I leave it and it will grow on me? We live about 30 minutes from each other, see each other maybe once a month and all holidays. Her baby is 6 months old. Edit. Thank you everyone, I'm going to keep her name as Florence. The nickname Flora was a great suggestion and I'm loving it more now. Also thank you for hyping up her name in the comments, made me feel better about my choice. Ops downvoted comments. I will say my sister-in-law has been calling her Flo even though I told her I hate that nickname. She's almost rubbing it in my face at this point. That is true, I just thought my second choice would grow on me by now. I figured her being 2 months old, this would be my last shot. Initially when I told my brother after their baby was born that I had already planned on naming my baby Frances, he said he didn't care and it was different from Francesca, but he said his wife was annoyed by it and said, tell her to do whatever she wants, but we're going to nickname her Frances. Since then there's been some tension between us. Also I've told her many times not to call my daughter Flo, but she keeps doing it and I know it's to piss me off. She's not the nicest. Other notable comments. Commenter 1. I probably wouldn't. If I was your brother and Sil, I would be annoyed if my sibling changed the name of their baby to be the same as mine. Commenter 2. I know this sub is very use the name you want no matter who else is using it, but I don't think you should change it. You need to move on. You've been angsting about this for 6 months. In a previous post, you said that your sister-in-law left the door open for you to use the name, even if she wasn't happy about it, and you chose not to. Changing it now would look like you wanting to start more drama. Commenter 3. Keep Florence, it is pretty. I understand your disappointment, but it isn't like you'd said for 15 years that you were naming your baby Frances. Sal's mother didn't have the name, and they used it just because they knew you wanted it. They just happened to have a baby to name first. Do you really want to start the uproar that will inevitably come when you change your baby's name to the same name as your niece, when you had told no one you wanted to use it, and your Sal has a legitimate family claim on it? It'll be far more disruptive, and honestly, obnoxious, than if you'd exclaimed, oh, that's our name too, when niece was born and went on to use it. Commenter 4. I think it's too late. They got there first, fair and square, and I think it would cause issues in your family dynamic if you change your baby's name to be identical to the nickname they often use for their daughter, your child's first cousin. It's her mom's name. She got there first. You didn't share it, so it wasn't stolen. You bowed out of it and names your baby something else. Commenter 5. Frances may be one of the ugliest names ever, so I think Florence is better. Stories number 18. I think my wife's best friend is developing feelings for me and my wife doesn't want to believe me because it's her best friend. Go to stories. Okay, yes, I'm aware I'm going to sound arrogant and like a narcissist, get over it. My wife and I have known each other in total 20-ish years, we have dated for 9, married for 5. She has known her best friend, D, since end of high school early college. They are like sisters. D has horrible luck with guys, abusive relationships, toxic relationships, she's had it all and some. I know this because she vents about it to my wife and me all the time. Recently she just got through a particular rough relationship, which she decided she was no longer going to date and just be single for a while. She began making comments to my wife about how lucky she is that she has me and it must make her feel so good to have a supporting, caring, loving man in her life to take care of her. This is when her changed behavior began. She has been very clingy to me, she never was before. When she comes over, head on my shoulder, sitting on my lap, she tells me all the time that I make her feel safe and comfortable. She always asks how my day is going and if I'm happy to see her, or how I think her body looks in her outfit, which she kinda did before but now she draws attention to her feminine areas. A joke was made, by my wife, about D being my second wife to do all the stuff my wife doesn't feel like doing. D jumped onto this and now refers too often enough as second wife. My wife thinks it's funny and it was until D sent me a picture of a ring she wanted, because even your second wife needs a ring. I have brought all this up to my wife because I don't want to keep her in the dark about anything. And she just says things like, that's just her, or, she doesn't mean anything by it. My fear is that D is getting what she's never gotten from any of her past relationships, comfort, validation, safety, and that she will become attached to this sort of fantasy. I don't want my wife to think I'm doing anything behind her back. But as I have stated, she just brushes it all off. Am I just being too observant, or is there something there my wife isn't seeing? Thoughts, comments. Commenter 1. Just have 2 wives. Problem solved. LOL. Commenter 2. As a female with a lot of guy friends, there is a huge difference in confiding with someone and then sitting in someone's lap. That to me, seems like there's more to it. I chat with your wife and see where she stands with it. Reply, she brushes it all off. I have brought up everything that has happened, left nothing out. Commenter 3. You're also allowed to have boundaries. Just because she's okay with it and even if your wife is, doesn't mean you are. And that deserves to be respected. I find it odd she doesn't see anything weird about it. Females are hyper aware of what they're doing. Reply, are you suggesting that my wife may see something there and not care? Update. Thank you for everyone's input advice on my situation. On that note, there are some questions I keep seeing, so I will answer some below. Sitting in my lap, this has only happened twice. Both instances were at parties where there was no seating left where I was sitting. I actually offered her my seat, which she said thanks and sat on my lap. Yes, both times were in front of my wife and she thought it was funny, so rather than make a scene by kicking her off, I waited till an opportunity came. Needed more food, drink, bathroom, etc. Is she hot? Am I attracted to her? By society standards she would be very attractive. By society standards my wife would not be as attractive. That being said, my wife is exactly what I want in a woman, just speaking physically. ATM, my wife is short, very pale skin, long curly brown hair, and not skinny because of the children we have had together. I love my wife the way she is and we are working together to help her lose the baby fat she wants to lose. D on the other hand is taller than me. I'm 5 feet 10 inches, tan skin, straight dirty blonde hair, and skinny. Again attractive, just not what I'm into. Okay, now for the update. Talk to my wife about everything going on and my concerns about it, using some points people brought up in comments. Turns out my wife is aware of the situation and is actually partially behind it. Apparently she brought up the idea of using me to show her best friend what to look for in a guy was a good idea, but has gone a little farther than she thought it would. Forgive her, she had good intentions. So we are both going to sit down with D and talk about everything next time she comes over. Comments. Commenter 1. I think you all should just get naked and trust each other. Commenter 2. Your wife is the weird one here. Update. Firstly, thank you everyone for your good advice. This will be the last update to this crazy series of events. Now let's get to what you're all waiting for, the update. D came over, we all sat down at the table, the kids are at their aunt's for the night. I stated that I wanted everything to come out, all the cards on the table. I want to know everything. So this is what went down. D has always had awful luck with men. She vents to me and my wife about it all the time. During a conversation when I wasn't present, D had said something along the lines of, wishing she could find a man like yours, because she will never know what it feels like to be genuinely wanted and appreciated. My wife made a bad decision and in trying to comfort her friend suggested treating me more like a BF than just a good friend, nothing physical, just the support and comfort and validation for a little to get an idea of what to look for in a man. D said she was fine with that, but when she started to get it from me she wanted more and more and started to cross boundaries to get it, the lap sitting, that kinda stuff. I asked my wife about it and she said it caught her by surprise but didn't exactly make her uncomfortable with her friend. It was actually the mentioning of D wanting a ring that she finally started to see that this was getting out of control. Wife said she realized she messed up but didn't want to say anything to me about it. I explained to both of them very thoroughly about how ridiculous this entire thing is, how there are better ways we all could have helped, how this could have destroyed friendships and marriages. They should have come to me and we all could have figured out ways to help each other together. There were apologies from both parties. D is still our friend and she will be coming over in a few days for us to discuss how she can potentially work on herself and things to look for in men she has an interest in dating. My wife is very sorry to D and me about the entire thing. So in the end, my wife made a mistake that she is remorseful for, learned from and will come out better for it. D will have help working on herself, and working towards a healthier future. And then there's me, tired and I want a beer lol. Thank you again everyone for your good words and advices. I'm sorry if this isn't the outcome you hoped thought predicted but life is unpredictable and I'm glad this is over. Oh and there will be no threesome. Comments. Commenter 1. Oh and there will be no threesome. Not with that attitude there won't. Commenter 2. Many are saying he fumbled the three-way. Honestly, I think OP is a solid dude and he handled it awesomely. Not everything on the internet is a plot of a porno. Commenter 3. Sorry but your wife owes you a lot more than an apology grimacing face. If the genders were reversed in this, so many people would be telling you to call the police and get a divorce lawyer etc. because it would have been a wife who'd been harassed and physically molested by her husband's friend despite her clearly not wanting him to do it. But because your wife and her friend are women, nobody is pointing out how serious this is to you. And in that scenario everyone would be questioning why the husband would want to be friends with a man who sexually harasses his mate's wives. But again nobody's saying this to you, and you seem to think it's okay for your wife to continue her friendship with this woman and frankly it isn't. Your wife not only allowed, but encouraged, someone to sexually harass and molest you. Unwanted physical contact. Yup. Sitting on your lap, leaning on your shoulder, feeling you up. Unwanted text messages. Yup. Texting pictures of rings and shit. Unwanted comments. Yup. Wish I had a man like you, and I assume the feminine areas mentioned were her tits and ass so I assume the questions she was asking were along the lines of, does this show too much cleavage, and, does this make my ass look good, and, how big do my boobs look in this top, etc. Also no sane person would agree to treat someone, never mind their friend's spouse, like a partner in any sense. Much less without discussing it with said spouse first. But because they're women they think it's harmless and, no harm, no foul. This wasn't a mistake, or an error in judgment. Nobody is this stupid. Commenter 4. No way in hell am I offering up my man as some pacifier to another woman. What was the wife thinking? Stories number 19. Aita for making my 13-years-old daughter go live with her father after something she did at a family barbecue. 32F. This happened at a family barbecue over the weekend. Admittedly my judgment is very clouded currently due to overall frustration on my end but I've been told I'm the asshole. So, I need an unbiased view. I have 3 kids. 14-years-old son, 13-years-old daughter, and 2-years-old daughter. Originally I guess I kind of chalked this behavior up to normal adjusting to the baby and change and whatnot but it soon blossomed into full-on lying and validation attention-seeking behavior. Again, a lot could be normal. I have no idea. My daughter has been seeing a therapist for 9.5 months now. When I had my 2-years-old, my 13-years-old swooned. She was absolutely in love with the baby. Tried holding her 24/7. Constantly playing with her. Constantly asking if she could help in any way. In all aspects our home life was kick-ass, honestly. I took the older kids out for one-on-one dates twice a week, family nights every Saturday, movie nights every Sunday and everything just seemed normal and loving. But about a year ago my 13-years-old started to act out tremendously. Getting into full-on fist fights at school, became a severe bully to literally everyone, including her siblings, me and my husband. Started getting incredibly bossy, demanding and entitled. Started saying things like I fully expect princess treatment because I deserve it, or you guys should listen to me because I am the queen. This started as a joke but she quickly took on the persona. She just went south. Even toward the baby. She started intentionally trying to scare the baby by running up and screaming while the baby was unsuspecting. Would start laughing hysterically when the baby screamed. Ripping things out of the baby's hands constantly and saying, mine. Tried getting the baby to hit people. Kept sticking the baby in the corner when she was barely walking because the baby wouldn't hug her. Would slam doors or throw things when I told her to stop and that it wasn't funny. Started calling us all fat or lazy, saying things like, "It's a good thing at least one of us in the house is gorgeous, I literally am the only one here who is attractive." The one-on-one dates I had with her turned into screaming matches and silent treatments because she wanted me to splurge and spoil her with hundreds of dollars worth of stuff and I wouldn't. The one time I did, I brought her to get her hair and nails done and spent $280, and within 2 days she ripped the nails off and expected me to go pay for them to be redone, and that following weekend she rough chopped her hair and then told me to get over it when I commented on how much money I just spent to get all that done for her. Caught her vaping, which she blatantly lied about. Ran away from home several times. Caught her making social media accounts under fake names on 9 separate occasions. She just turned 13 and we have a no social media like Facebook until you are 14 rule. She is now grounded from all electronics, gaming consoles and tablet, until further notice. I do think all of this is directly contributed to her friend group. They are not good kids, at all. All of this is why I put her into therapy. She still fights me to go and it takes over an hour to get her in the car every single time. With that said, she's actually been doing kick-ass for a good 2 months. Attitude hasn't been as bad, bullying has cut back, no more running away, etc. She's picked up drawing and oh my lord is she absolutely fantastic at drawing. She's even sold some paintings. So, there's good and bad but it seemed like we were on the mend. Anyways, we go to this family barbecue over the weekend and honestly, we do not see my family much at all, outside of my parents. Most of the people at this barbecue were people I had not seen in 8+ years and a lot of them had never even met my oldest kid because they've just never been around. I think we only knew like 6 people out of 40+. It was super uncomfortable and my anxiety was through the roof. My daughter even commented on it and asked me if I wanted her to go out to the car with me for a breather. I told her it was fine and that I would just go, because she was hanging out with a cousin that was her age and I just didn't want to bother her or disrupt her time because of my anxiety. I stayed outside for about 10 to 15 minutes and when I came back inside the atmosphere was just off. People were either openly staring at me with disgust or just avoiding me completely. Originally I thought it was just my anxiety making me think stupid shit so I tried to brush it off but then my aunt approached me and told me she needed to talk to me in private. My aunt is a CPS worker. She asks me, "So what's going on?" And I ask what she means and she goes, "Well Kimmy just told us that you yell at her all the time because she won't watch your baby for you and that she's always cleaning the house while you and the boys sit on the couch and watch TV." I told her that was absolutely not true and she cuts me off and says, "I'm sure that it's also not true that you don't let her have a social life either because you need her home to help you with the baby and clean the house. Have you considered getting yourself into therapy? She told me that you cry all the time and barely get out of bed and you know I am a mandated reporter so I have to report this." I just walked away, got my kids in the car and left without saying anything to anyone at this point and when we got home I told my daughter to pack her stuff. She acted super confused and kept asking why and I had a bit of a moment and lashed out, telling her that I had never been so disappointed in my entire life and that because of her and her lying and manipulation, my aunt was now going to call the state on me and it was time for her father to step in because I was done. I had already contacted her dad and he was on his way to my house to get her. She had an absolute conniption, which is to be expected. She originally tried saying she never even talked to my aunt. Told me she had no clue who I was even talking about. But when that didn't work and I told her that I knew she was lying, she gave a, "Well I was just angry that you wouldn't let me go to Hannah's this weekend," Hannah being the friend who gave her the vape and Hannah's mom being a woman who was trying to help my daughter come up with a plan to sneak out to her boyfriend's house, knowing I don't allow boys here or her to go to boys' houses. She begged me not to send her to her dad's, said she would stop and try to do better. Even threatened to end herself and said that it would be my fault. I still sent her. My ex, her father, my husband and my mother are all on my side here and back me 100%. But I have gotten some super hateful and ignorant messages from other people, like my CPS worker aunt, saying that I have failed my kid and to not be surprised when my kid hates and has nothing to do with me once she turns 18. I need hard truths here. Stories number 20. My brother, 27M, does some really creepy stuff and I'm, 21F, done with him. Well, hey I'm desperate. My brother is really creepy. Like really fucking creepy to the point where I look at him and I have serial killer thoughts. Then I realize what I'm thinking and I feel guilty. Yesterday, for example. He picked me up at the uni and was supposed to take me to the mall, because I needed to buy some things. I realized the route was different and I asked him where he was going. He didn't say anything. I kept asking where we were going because I knew we were far away from the uni and he was driving faster and faster and I told him to stop, but he wouldn't. Then he casually went back to the mall. I got out of the car and said he didn't need to drive me back. He just went away. Sometimes on holidays I'll be alone and he'll stand behind me and scare me. I told him multiple times to stop and he didn't. He's been doing it since we were kids. Sometimes I would wake up and see him standing in front of me while I slept. Last Thanksgiving I was sleeping and woke up to him sitting on the edge of my bed, speaking French. Sometimes he'll show up at my college and ask to talk to me. I'll get off class and then he'll just say it was nothing and go away. Sometimes I see his car parked at my boyfriend's house. I don't understand it. I'm done with him. What can I do? TLDR, my brother is creepy as fuck and I'm done. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You need to start answering questions so we can help you. Questions like where are your parents and what do they think of his behavior? Has he been evaluated? Do you ever feel threatened? Sexualized? Does he do this with anyone else? Help us out here. Give us something back. Reply, hey. I'm here. I'm sorry for not answering earlier. I ended up sleeping. Anyway, yes, when I was a little girl I used to tell my parents about my brother going over to my bedroom and scaring me. My parents would talk to him and say it's absolutely not okay to do that, but he wouldn't listen to them. My parents also took him to a therapist, when he was a kid, to see if there was something going on but no, nothing. He kept doing it as grew up, except that he became creepier. Like the things I mentioned in the post. There was one occasion where I was on a trip in another country and he showed up at the same place I was. Instead of being excited by his presence I was just so tired about it, so I asked him, what are you doing here? And he said, I'm just enjoying France. You're the only one who can appreciate this beauty. I couldn't do anything so I ended accepting it. He does have a girlfriend and no, he doesn't act that way with her. He doesn't act this way with anyone. He has a good job. I don't live with my parents nor does he. Commenter 2. Wait a second, this dude shows up randomly while you're in France out of nowhere and just seems to bump into you? That's some next level shit right there OP. Did you tell your parents about this issue in particular? Reply, I did. My parents were disappointed that he was still doing that and told me they were going to talk to him. It happened in March too, not so long ago. Update. I talked to my parents and told them I was tired of my brother's behavior and that they should do something, otherwise I wouldn't be going home anymore. They said I was being too extreme and that he would stop eventually, but that shit has been going on since we were kids and I knew he wasn't going to stop, so I gave them an ultimatum. They would talk to my brother and my brother would stop or the three of them could have a nice life. My parents talked to him, after all. My brother refused to get evaluated at first, he was really upset. He went over to my dorm and tried to choke me. He screamed at me, then he tried to choke me, then he realized what he was doing and started crying and apologizing. Someone called the cops because my brother tried to kill himself afterwards. Anyway, everything is okay now. I mean, not everything. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia. He didn't get a full written report because it's been a week and it takes time, but that was the feedback and diagnosis. I'm going to be okay. I just want to say thank you for the advice and stuff, you know. I appreciate it, a lot. Love. TLDR, my brother ended up getting arrested for trying to choke me then kill himself, then he got evaluated and now he's going to be okay, hopefully. Final comments. Commenter 1. So how will your relationship be with your brother now? Reply, I'm not sure. He's just getting treatment now after 27 years and it will be tough. Really, really tough. I'll try to be supportive of him but I have to take care of myself too. Top comment. Commenter, wow OP, you're a hero. You're the only one in your family strong enough to put your foot down about the reality of this situation and as a result your brother can now get the help he needs. Well done you, smiley face. Stories number 21. Entitled neighbor cussed me out because I wouldn't buy her baby's formula. Okay, so my fiancé and I currently live in a sober living facility for couples. We've been here since March and are about to graduate next month. There's another couple in the program that just moved in upstairs. The female, we'll call her Kate, has been constantly asking us for things ever since she and her husband moved in 2 weeks ago. For more background, my fiancé has a good paying job, but we're trying to save every penny we can to get our own apartment. Because if we don't have one by the time we graduate, we'll literally be out on the street. So while I don't mind helping people when I can, I'm not in a place where I can really afford to help other people. I'm barely staying afloat myself. It started out small. A cup of sugar here, an egg there. Then it escalated. She started asking for money for bus fare, to borrow my perfume, and even to wear my clothes. I've been where she is, coming off the streets with nothing, so I've tried to be as generous as I can. But today pushed it way too far. My fiancé and I were laying down for a nap. We even had a sign on the door that said, "We're sleeping." But sure enough, she came knocking anyway. My fiancé does not handle being woken up well, especially when someone is rude enough to blatantly ignore the damn sign. So when he answered the door, he had a bit of an attitude. Instead of apologizing, she immediately burst into fake tears, saying her baby needed formula and she needed $50 to send to her mom or her mom was going to terminate her rights. My fiancé asked when she could pay it back, and she said she didn't know, but not to worry. That she would definitely pay him back as soon as she could. He told her he couldn't just give away $50, and if she expected him to loan it to her, he was going to have some sort of time frame. She got huffy and snapped, "I literally just told you I'd pay it back." And he finally was just like, "Yeah, I would if I could, but shit's tight right now so I can't really afford it. Sorry." That's when she suddenly claimed she could pay it back tomorrow. Obviously, that was a lie and we both knew it. So he told her we couldn't do it and shut the door. A few minutes later, we heard her cussing outside our door. Saying things like, "I'll know better than to ask anyone around here for fucking help again," and, "I can't wait till a motherfucker asks me for something." But the real kicker was, it takes a cold piece of shit to let a baby go hungry. Excuse me, ain't nobody letting your baby go hungry but you and your man. I'm not a piece of shit, and I would never let a child starve. If I knew where that baby actually was, I'd go buy formula and take it to her mom myself. But I'm not handing $50 to someone I know damn well is not going to spend it on her child. And I'm damn sure not going to loan it to someone who I know is lying to my face about paying me back. I'm a recovering addict too. I know the games. I've played them all. And even if what she said about her mom was true, which I doubt it was, the fact that her mom is willing to so easily terminate her rights just lets me know that this has been an ongoing thing with her. She's obviously not taking care of her child and hasn't been for a while or her mom wouldn't be getting this fed up with her shit. We have never told her no before today. We've given and given. But $50 in hard-earned money is a hell of a lot different than a cup of sugar. Especially when we're saving every dime to avoid homelessness. Which is exactly what her and her man should be doing. They are both perfectly capable of getting jobs just like the rest of us. It's not my responsibility to take care of two grown-ass adults. The audacity of some people never ceases to amaze me. Edit. So, I talked to a few of my friends who also live here in the complex. Apparently, she's been talking shit about my fiancé and me all night. One of my really good friends ended up telling her to shut her fucking mouth because she heard everything that went down and knew we didn't do anything wrong. LOL. Kate said some shit back to her and long story short, we all got together and complained to staff about her attitude and toxic negativity. Our peer support gave her a few pamphlets on food banks in the area and places that offer help with clothing and other necessities. Then she basically told her that if she got caught asking anyone for anything else, she would personally escort her off the property. Hopefully, that took care of the problem. Anyway, I just want to thank everyone for your kind words and encouragement. Especially for all the congratulations I received. It really does mean the world to me. Every one of you could have scrolled right past and not even bothered to comment, but you took the time out of your night to tell me congrats and that you were proud of me. That right there is proof that there are still good people in the world. Edit 2, I also forgot to add that we aren't the only ones she's been doing this to. From what I gather, it's basically anyone and everyone who's willing to give. She's willing to take from. I heard the peer support letting her have it. Telling her that we are all here to turn our lives around, not go backward. And acting the way she is acting is old addict behaviors. The girl probably thinks we're all snitches. But I really don't give a shit. I know this is cliché. But I'm not gonna sit around and let this bitch wreck my peace. Also, while the peer support was ripping her ass, she smelled the marijuana all over her. So she'll probably be getting kicked out pretty soon anyway. Stories number 22. I'm in love with my baby's mom, but she wants to leave. So I, 27M, met Mila, 25F, like 4 years ago at a bar. Long story short, it was a mutual friend's birthday, we were at this bar, and we had both just gotten out of long-term relationships. Hers was 5 years, mine was 4. A lot of drinking later, it was hella awkward waking up naked on the birthday dude's couch with Mila. But honestly, that wasn't even the wildest thing that happened that night. The birthday guy? He did something way worse. Anyway, after all that, me and Mila were both super awkward about it. She legit looked like she wanted to crawl under a rock. Neither of us wanted anything serious since we had just broken up with our exes, but we still swapped numbers and went our separate ways. Fast forward like 3 months, Mila texted me up asking to grab coffee. I thought it was kinda weird, but I figured she might want to go on a date or something. When I got there, she looked like she'd been crying. As soon as I sat down, she just started bawling. Turns out, she was pregnant. She hadn't realized cause she was super stressed and tired, but I was the only person she'd slept with. My whole life flipped upside down. We did a DNA test, and it was mine. Then she moved in with me cause she was sharing a room with a roommate. The guest room became hers, and my office is now Andreas' room, but we call him Andy. Having a kid wasn't exactly in my plans, but since Andy came along, my life's been better, honestly. Over the years, me and Mila never really had a romantic relationship, except for this one time she kissed me after Andy was born. We get along, I support them, I'm paying for Mila's grad school, she finishes next year, we split the chores, and I'm always there for whatever she needs. So, in November, Andy's gonna turn 3. We've been planning his birthday, it's around Halloween, so he and his friends are all gonna dress up. He wants to go as Bingo from Bluey. During one of our talks, Mila asked if I wanted her to move out. She said now that Andy's 3, we could co-parent separately, and I could even, get a girlfriend if I wanted to. I just went blank and said, no, and dipped to my room. Here's the thing, I love her. Having Andy is everything to me, but I'm also legit in love with her. She's smart, beautiful, caring, thoughtful, kind, dedicated, she's literally the most perfect person ever. But I'm way too scared to tell her. We have a kid together, and I'm terrified of ruining everything between us as parents and friends. I don't know if I should tell her how I feel or just keep pretending everything's fine so I don't mess up what we have. Update. So, I, 27M, posted my story a few days ago, and yesterday I finally talked to Mila, 25F. Quick recap, me and Mila had a baby together after a one-night thing. Ever since, we've been living together and I'm in love with her. She's absolutely stunning, breathtaking even, but I've been too scared to tell her how I feel because I didn't want to mess up our co-parenting situation. So, I left work early, picked up Andy from nursery, and dropped him off at my mom's. I bought some flowers, cleaned up the house while she was in class, and texted her, saying she didn't need to pick up Andy and to just come home because we needed to talk. When she got home, she looked at me with her big eyes wide open, and the first thing she asked about was our kid. I hugged her for a while, but she went full mommy bear mode and kept asking about our baby boy. After I reassured her that he was with my mom and totally fine, she finally calmed down. I brought her to the living room, gave her the bouquet, and started talking. It was a long convo. I told her how I'd been scared of ruining things and how it hurt when she asked if I wanted her to leave. She admitted she was afraid she was messing up my life, that she feels like a burden sometimes, and even blames herself for ruining my life with the pregnancy. I shut that down real quick. I never wanted kids, but honestly, since Andy and Mila came into my life, everything's been way better. It's been the best, most challenging mistake I've ever made. She also said she likes me too, and she's felt that way since she was pregnant but wasn't sure if it was just the hormones. After the baby, she felt embarrassed to say anything because she didn't feel comfortable in her body anymore. She never got back to her pre-pregnancy body and thought I wouldn't find her attractive. But to me, she's the most beautiful and hot woman on the planet. She also admitted she'd get jealous when I went on dates, even though she knew it didn't make sense because we weren't a thing. Honestly, if she went on dates, I'd be dying of jealousy too. We talked for a long time, even got into some deeper, more personal stuff. By the time we were done, it was late. We went to this small restaurant near our place for dinner. No wine, cause I was driving, but it was amazing. We chatted about music, movies, and she went off about Asoya for ages while I rambled on about LOTR. We talked about life and random stuff. At the end of the night, I got a few kisses in the car, like we didn't even live together, which was kinda cute. Then we watched a horror movie, awful movie by the way, but she fell asleep cuddling me. It was a day full of wins. Update 2. Hey guys. So, I saw a TikTok video about my story and it's kinda embarrassing having a piece of my life narrated by AI. I decided to give y'all an update, but first, a quick note, please use protection. I read some concerning comments about my situation. Yeah, I was pretty drunk and reckless, and things could have turned out way worse. Don't be like me. Alright, here's what's been going on these past few months. We broke up, and she moved to another city, sad face. Just kidding, Andy's birthday was amazing. Everyone showed up in costumes, and the kids loved it. Andy dressed as Bingo, I went as Bandit, and Mila was Chili. Andy was over the moon that we all dressed up, but what melted my heart was when we were getting ready in the bedroom, and my little guy said, I always wanted this. I think the way our dynamic was before, we didn't really have these sweet family moments, and it makes me so happy that my son gets to experience this now. So yeah, we're officially dating now, and it's been nothing short of amazing. She's happy, my little guy is happy, and nothing makes me happier than seeing them like this. Has it been perfect? Nah, it's the start of a relationship with a lot of baggage. We're doing couples therapy because we've been living together and acting as a family way longer than we've been an actual couple. The first month was kinda rough. I felt awkward about being intimate at home, and so did she, mostly because of the family dynamic we had before. But I think we're building something really good. I don't have much else to update for now, but I'll definitely share if anything new happens. I told her about this account, so to the hottest woman alive, you've got my heart. Love you, Amelia, my Mila. Update 3. A while ago I posted here about how I was in love with my baby's mom and I was strongly encouraged to talk to her, and I did. We've been together for 8 months now, and these have been the best 8 months of my life. Everything is worth it as long as I'm with her. Every day during these 8 months, I go to bed knowing that everything I experience with her is worth living. Now, for the biggest update, I proposed to her, and she said yes. And unlike the first time, we're already planning to give our Andy a little brother or sister right after the wedding. Thank you, Reddit. I think this will be my last update. P.S. The dog, Oswald, is fine. Edit. Other platforms, I saw some really disturbing comments. Some people are really worried about the fact that I pay for stuff for my now fiancé. Just wanna say, I'm not struggling financially, and even if she didn't want to be with me, I'd still cover everything for her until she had a solid career and a place of her own. My main concern is my son. If I can give him and his mom a better life, why wouldn't I? I think, that as a dad, it's my job to make sure my kid has the same opportunities, and I'll keep doing that, no matter if I'm with his mom or not. Stories number 23. My fiancé invited his ex-situationship for our wedding behind my back. I, 23F, am getting married in January and just found out my fiancé, Mark, 25M, fake name, invited his old situationship to our wedding without consulting me. For context, me and Mark met on a dating app 2 years ago after he broke up a relationship. To be honest, it's quite confusing what he and Tracy, 22F, had. They met because of a mutual friend and started to develop feelings for each other. Mark told me they never dated and slept together, but it was more than friendship. Until today he keeps her love letters, gifts and talks about her. Tracy and him tried to stay in contact after the breakup, staying friends, but she ghosted him after finding out we started to date. From what I saw in her social media, she's in a relationship, so I'm not worried about her trying to get with my fiancé again. They haven't been in contact for 2 years, but he still has her number and email. I found out about him inviting her after I checked again our guest list and finding her name. I know Tracy is not a threat to our relationship, but Mark inviting her behind my back makes me feel bad about our whole wedding. He told me he doesn't feel anything for her, yet he made sure to send her an invitation. This is probably me being insecure, but my fear of him not getting over her is slowly creeping inside my heart. I don't want to lose him. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, he's probably not over her, especially since they were never a thing. For him, she might be the one that got away. If I were OP, I would have a very serious talk with him. Reply, I don't get why he is not over her, especially if they were never a thing. From what Mark told me, he was the one who didn't want a relationship since Tracy just started life. Commenter 2, he went behind you back to invite someone whose love letters he's kept. The fact he didn't talk to you about it is a triangular flag. If having her there is more important to him than you being comfortable at your own wedding, then you might need to postpone the wedding. She might not be a threat to your relationship, but it sounds like your fiancé's feelings are a threat. Reply, I don't know why he is not over her even after 2 years of no contact. I know Tracy is part of his past, his story, but it's been such a long time. Commenter 3, tell him you don't want her there and that's final, and he better rescind it or you'll have to rethink the marriage, because starting a married life by going behind your back is a no-no. TBH, you need to not stubbornly hold on to someone you can't trust, and you can't trust someone who does shit behind your back. Reply, her going to the wedding doesn't make me uncomfortable since I know she won't do anything. The problem is my fiancé and the fact he invited her to the wedding without notifying me. If Mark wanted her there, fine. But I just hate the fact he didn't told me beforehand, and it's making me think he lied about getting over her. Commenter 4, why do you keep saying I know she won't do anything? If you can't trust him not to do anything with an old fling, you should not be getting married. Reply, Tracy has a boyfriend and is expecting. Also, she was the one who blocked him everywhere after finding out we were dating. Update 1. After reading the comments and talking with some friends, my heart finally understood Mark never really got over Tracy. In the beginning, I was in denial, but I went out with Tom, 24M, his best friend of years, to understand about what really happened between them. From what he told me, Tracy and Mark met because of some friends in common. She just got into the university and was 17 at the time, while Mark was already almost graduating. They stayed friends for 2 years and feelings started to blossom. Mark was already working while she was still in college, he only wanted to formally date her after her graduation, so it was never a thing, even though they shared love letters, gifts and shared almost every holiday together. Tom told me everyone from their old friend group thought they would marry since they were so sweet together. So, their breakup was really unpredictable. Tracy was the one who broke up with Mark due to their religious values not lining up, as she wanted to save herself until marriage. In the end, they decided it was better to go separate ways and maybe try again after a few years. But after me and Mark started to date, Tracy realized that it was pointless to wait for him and started to see other people too, so she blocked in everything, except email just to have a clean beginning. In the end, I finally realized Mark is just hopeful that Tracy would come back to him due to their talks of trying again after a while. It honestly hurt so much, as I loved him so much. I still didn't confront him since I'm still shaken up, but I don't know if this marriage will happen. I am going to update once I calm down and confront him. Top comments. Commenter 1, this sucks but at least you found out before you ended up married to this guy. Commenter 2, I'm sorry OP. It does sound as though your fiancé hasn't moved on. You deserve someone who can't breathe without you, and I hope you can find it with your next partner. Commenter 3, I'd write down all your feelings and thoughts in a letter to him. Explain what Tom said to you. Tell him it aligns with him keeping the love letters, trying to stay in contact, and bringing her up even 2 years later while in a relationship with you. Tell him you love him enough to let him go. I'd also reach out to Tracy and ask if your fiancé has been talking to her at all. You never know if there is more to the story, of if she has moved on from him. From what you wrote, it doesn't seem like he moved on from her. He shouldn't be inviting someone he still has romantic feelings for to his wedding. That's cruel to you, his future wife, and Tracy, as well. If I was her, I'd feel like he was trying to shove his relationship in my face. I'd be offended he even invited me. Also, will this be his first time seeing her in 2 years? For some reason, I seriously doubt it. However, if it is, that's pretty diabolical. It's like he is using your wedding and you as a prop in their love story. Does he think he's the male lead in some K-drama? At the very least, give him the letter. If he wants to meet up, ask to see his phone. Go through his deleted messages and sent emails along with his trash folder. I think there's more to the story. Were you supposed to walk down the aisle and just see Tracy there? He's honestly an AH, and a selfish one at that. Update 2. It's been a while since the last update and I'm here to announce the wedding has been called off. My parents are the one canceling everything for me. It's like I returned to my childhood when mom and dad had to solve my problems. I confronted Mark after talking with Tom and made him aware of everything I've been dealing. His reaction at the beginning was dismissive and was almost as if he was trying to escape from this situation. In the end, Mark said he never loved someone like Tracy because it was pure and innocent. She reminded him that not everything is about carnal desire, and in the darkest moments of his life, Tracy was like a sunlight. Hearing the man you love admitting how much he loved another woman is so hurtful. During the talk, I started to cry, bawling my eyes out. Mark had the audacity to say he loves me, but it's a different kind of love. I asked why he invited her to our wedding and he was speechless. Why he had to throw away our future for something in the past. This hurts so much. Mark told me he knew Tracy didn't block him on email, since he was the one who helped her get her first job and a lot of professional stuff was also involved. This is how he was able to send her our wedding invitation, but he meant no harm. When I asked what he meant with this, Mark just said he wanted to make her watch us together and realize what she lost because he was hurt that Tracy was pregnant and not married. The moment Mark mentioned about Tracy's pregnancy, a red alarm started to echo in my head. How did you know about her pregnancy? You said she blocked you everywhere. I could see panic in his eyes as he started to stutter. In the end, I made him give me his phone and I found out more than 5 accounts to stalk Tracy. My stomach felt sick and the urge to vomit was overwhelming. In the end, I decided to call off the engagement since he was a creep. Mark threw himself on the floor asking for forgiveness and he loves me, just in a different way compared to Tracy, and was just hurt that she gave herself to another man while he begged her countless times for sex. This made me feel even more disgusted with him because he felt entitled to her virginity and body. I left without taking even a bag with me. Everything is just too much. I can't believe I spent 2 years loving a stalker, a man-child. Oh, I also told Tracy everything in his accounts. I don't know if she saw my messages, but I hope she does. The jealousy I once felt for her transformed into pity, as no woman should go through what Mark has done. Mark wants to meet up with me and doesn't want to break up, but I'm just so tired. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I am so sorry. This really sucks. You should have your parents get your stuff and you should stay as far away from Mark as you can. If he is capable of stalking Tracy, he is capable of stalking you. Make sure that there are security cameras at your parents' house and you should block him. The only bright side is that you found this out before you married him. Reply, I'm thinking about leaving the US and going to another country. Social media are not for me, so it's harder for him to stalk me. I don't have anything of great value in Mark's house, except some clothes and makeup, so I'd see if he throws it away. OOP on Tracy's ethnicity and her own. Reply, Tracy is Asian while I'm white. Update 3. I think this is my last update, since I've already met up with Tracy and talked about what happened. Me and her met at a cafe, and in the beginning I was really nervous, as I didn't know what was her reaction because her reply was only, "Hi, let's talk over a cup of coffee." When I was waiting for her, I could feel my back sweating and overall, lots of emotion. Tracy arrived and I finally understood why Mark was so obsessed with her, as she is definitely one of the most beautiful women I saw. She's pretty on the pictures, but personally she looks better. Tracy said hello to me and asked if I'm willing to go to her house to talk, since being outside for too long makes her really tired. We ordered some coffee to go and it was super awkward. So now let's talk about what she told me. First of all, she apologized for being the reason why now I'm single, which I assured her is not her fault. Tracy said she received the invitation, but was simply not interested in participating in our wedding as she was already in a happy relationship and is pointless to see a person from the past. With the story Tom and Mark told me, I got curious and asked about them staying friends, as it sounded like she wanted to stay with him after the breakup, and it's the polar opposite of her behavior. Tracy was extremely uncomfortable with this question, but still explained to me why she said that. In the beginning, she was really in love with Mark because he was her first love. She described him as a protector, someone trustworthy, handsome and kind, as he always showered her in gifts and travels. Everything was fine and sweet, but over time, Mark started to beg her for sex, so much to the point of her pretending to be sick just to avoid him. She just didn't want to sleep with him and had some sort of blockage, like a sixth sense telling her to not do this. She was sick and tired about all of this and used the fact that her parents are extremely religious to justify why sex was off the chart. This led to a fight, which Mark never told me, and them breaking up. But 2 weeks after, they started to talk again, as she felt in debt with him as he helped her get a job in a prestigious company and he spent a lot of money on her with trips, foods, and presents. One of the gifts was a Rolex for her 18th birthday, which made me mad since he never spent so much money on me. So when Tracy found out me and Mark was seeing each other, she felt relieved and finally had a proper reason to block him everywhere, since he was still sometimes hinting about them sleeping together. In the end, I told her in the entire relationship, Mark would sometimes talk about her, and in the beginning it was kind of weird, but I just brushed it off since she was part of his story. Oh, I also talked about Mark's numerous accounts, and in the beginning she didn't believe me. But I showed her the accounts I knew, which was creepy since they all had female names, followers, and pictures. All of them looked real. Her account is public, so I asked Tracy to make it private. She made a new account with her Korean name and deactivated the old one. We had fun and became friends. She is a really sweet person, and I saw how her boyfriend treated her like a queen. I'm happy she found love and got rid of Mark. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, sounds like everyone dodged the bullet that was Mark. Reply, it wasn't a bullet. It was a nuclear bomb. Commenter 2, I really hope she takes Mark's stalking seriously. It's very alarming the stuff he has been doing. I'm genuinely afraid for this woman. He's become obsessive, and that can't lead to anything good. Especially if he starts spiraling after your breakup. Commenter 3, I'm so glad you told her. Pregnant women with crazy stalkers get killed at an alarming rate. I can't imagine how awkward and awful and difficult that whole situation and conversation must have been for you. I'm really proud of you for talking to her and showing her all their accounts so she could protect herself and have all the information. Now, at least whatever else she chooses to do and whatever else happens, you know you've done what you could to protect another vulnerable woman. That speaks huge volumes to character and personality and general grace class overall. You are going to find someone amazing who truly loves you and matches that upbeat, dignified, and character-driven vibe you have to the best benefit. Smiley face. I just know it. I hope you post an update on 3 years madly in love and hugely successful. Winky face. Update 4. Hi, guys. Recently, I logged into my account again and decided to give an update about my life, as it is so crazy for me that almost a year ago, my tears were uncontrollable because of a man. Tracy got married a few weeks ago and I was invited. It was a beautiful ceremony and her baby was part of it. It was refreshing to see the glow on her face and that she found the one. We're not too close, but still is nice to hang out with her and accompany her journey as a wife and mother. Meanwhile, I am not interested in relationships for a while. I got a promotion and thinking about moving to another state as my company offered a position with better pay. Not being engaged actually made me concentrate a lot more on my job as I became able to do more extra hours. So, I don't have much updates about Mark since I cut off contact with him, his family and friends that took his side. The last thing I heard is that he was telling everyone how controlling and abusive I was and he had to call off our engagement. This is not my business anymore and what he says doesn't matter. But Mark is definitely miserable. I am going to take this summer and go to Greece just to celebrate life. Thank you all for the advices. If I didn't post it on Reddit almost a year ago, I would have been married to a guy who never saw me as first option. Stories number 24. How do I approach my son's secret clothing style? I, 45M, have one son, 16M. He recently got his driver's license and a job at a small ice cream shop. His mother left almost as soon as he turned 1, so we have a very open relationship. He tells me stuff most kids don't feel comfortable telling their parents and I'm so grateful for that, so when I realized he was keeping this from me I was confused. He's been going to the mall a lot with a boy I'm gonna call K, 17M. I thought they were just doing regular stuff teenage boys do. Walking around, getting pretzels, buying stupid stuff, etc. I was fine with it because he's always been responsible, kept his location on and answered all of my texts and phone calls. K is also a very respectful and overall good kid, so I haven't been too worried about him either. But I started to notice whenever my son would come home he'd dash to his room and try to cover his bags. I was suspicious, but to avoid any arguments or possible embarrassment I decided to just check the trash bins in his room and in the kitchen. There was a lot of bags from stores that mainly carried feminine clothing, a couple Ulta bags and makeup packaging. I jokingly asked him about any girlfriends during dinner, he laughed and said no. He didn't seem to be lying. This kept happening for a couple weeks until I asked for his phone. He was strangely nervous but gave it to me anyway. I first checked his Snapchat. If you have teenagers you know that's the best place to start. I didn't find anything strange, but when I found his chats between him and Kay, they were extremely flirty. It was adorable how overly cutesy they were with terms of endearment. My son has never came out to me as gay or bi or anything like that, so I decided to leave that alone. He'd tell me when he was ready and pushing it would only cause stress. I looked through everything else and it seemed normal, until I got to his Instagram. He had a private account I didn't know about. All of his friends were added and as I looked through the photos things made sense. He was always in some sort of overly feminine outfit, his hair and makeup all done. I didn't care until the photos got a lot more revealing. Very suggestive poses, whale tails, mini skirts and him doing suggestive dances on reels. I also saw that his bio said he was gay, a quote, femboy, and used he they pronouns, which I haven't been using and will start using after we have a conversation, just in case. I don't want to push him to come out, but I also don't want him keeping something like this from me. I want him to know I support him and that I'll love him either way, that he doesn't need to hide his makeup or skirts, that I'll welcome Kay to the house, that I'll even help redo his whole room to be pink and girly if he wants. If anyone has the same experience, rather they were a parent in this situation or someone like my son. Stories number 25. Whipped for locking the stepdaughter out of the bedroom. So recently, my 29-year-old stepdaughter moved back in with my husband and me. Before she moved back in with us, she stayed at our house while we were on a trip. When we returned from the trip, I found things in our ensuite bathroom in the wrong place. When I went to get clean towels, there were towels in the wrong place. I knew that my stepdaughter had used our ensuite shower and our towels. I just made a mental note of items out of place, but didn't say anything. A few months later, she confessed that she had used the shower. I said that I already knew this because I found things out of place. She insisted that she put everything back in place and my husband kind of gave me a dirty look. Yes, there is a full hall bath that she normally uses. It is directly across the hall from her bedroom door. She moved back in with us sooner than expected, so we still had a few things in the room that is now her bedroom. One day while she was at work, I did not have a lot to do, so I went into the room and removed our remaining items. I truly felt like I was doing a kind thing for her because it would give her more space and allow her to organize her belongings better. She got upset and set a boundary that we should not go into her room without her prior permission. It's definitely fair for her to set a boundary that we should not go into her room without asking, but I had a specific reason and wanted to surprise her. Nevertheless, I apologized and said I would clear it next time. I was reflecting on these incidents this morning and found it ironic that it was okay for her to use our shower and our towels but not okay for me to go remove our things from her room. My husband and I are about to take a short trip. I would prefer that she not use our shower, so I am considering locking the door to the primary suite. I do feel like my husband has a little bit of a problem setting boundaries with the young adults, so I think he would be upset with me if I did this. I feel like what's fair is fair. It's fair to ask us not to enter her room, and I think it's fair that she should not use our shower. So would I be TA if I lock the door and don't mention it to either of them? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Is there a reason you can't have a conversation with her and let her know you understand her request and expect the same respect? Locking the door without having a conversation like the adults you would make UTA. Reply, thanks for your feedback. I'm very conflict avoidant but do need to try. Downvoted commenter, ESH. Ask yourself, is it really worth a move of pettiness and dealing with the fallout with the husband afterwards? One question I would like to ask is why the stepdaughter used your shower. That part seems to be omitted. Reply, no reason except she wanted to. She has another bathroom across the hall. Why did she try to put everything back in the same place as if she hadn't used the bathroom? Commenter 2, yes. Put a lock on your door. The only way she'll ever find out is if she tries to open it, which in her own words, would be crossing a boundary. If you don't give her permission she has no right to be in your room. NTA. Commenter 3, I don't understand why an almost 30-year-old would want to go use her parents' bathroom when she has her own. I'm sure it's probably a nicer bathroom but who cares? Lock your private part of your house and tell her not to use your bathroom. Even if she didn't move things around, I wouldn't want anyone using my bathroom. Update, locked bedroom. First, I wanted to thank everyone for their advice about whether I should lock the bedroom door when I'm away. The original post is here, if you missed it. I did read the comments and some of you asked a few questions. So here are those answers. No, this is not my stepdaughter's childhood home. Her father and I bought it when she was 18. Her father and I met 2 years after his first marriage ended in divorce. He and I have been together more than 20 years. On with the update, I did talk with my husband before we went away. He agreed that it was completely reasonable to expect our bedroom and bathroom to be private and that the boundaries should be equal on all sides. I asked him to discuss it with my stepdaughter and he did let her know that she shouldn't go into our bed and bath without permission. Nevertheless, I did listen to everyone here who said to lock the door when we left for the trip. My stepson was ending a vacation with his stepfather's family and starting a week with us but his arrival date was on Saturday evening before we returned. I always take the time to set up everything for my guests. That includes leaving clean towels specifically for them. I placed a couple body and hand towels on the guest bed. The bedding is dark blue and the towels were white so they would be obvious. Also my stepson takes a shower every single day, usually in the late afternoon. It's important to remember this and that he arrived Saturday. On Monday morning, my husband asked if I had locked our bedroom door. I said that I did lock it and asked why. He said that my stepdaughter had been looking for towels to give to our stepson. So I simply replied that I had left towels on the guest bed for him. My husband softly said, "Oh, I am letting my husband handle the issue of her trying to enter our room without permission," and that stepdaughter made up an excuse to justify that. I will always lock the bedroom door when we're away as long as SD is living with us. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA. She wants you to respect her space in your house but doesn't want to respect yours. That's a problem for your husband to handle or a family meeting. Reply, I'm happy to let him be the bad guy. OOP on keeping extra towels in accessible linen closets. Reply, I would look in the linen closet, any cabinets in the hall bathroom, and not in other bedrooms. We have a linen closet and a second hall closet. I keep extra towels in the linen closet. Commenter 2, I don't know what the stepdaughter's situation is as to why she had to move in with you, but it sounds like it'd be better if she moved back out since she has no respect for boundaries. Plus she's a full-grown adult. Reply, she has a high school diploma, the story goes deeper, and doesn't earn a lot of money. She's had trouble keeping jobs and also has problems keeping friends. Bio mom refused to cooperate with diagnosis and treatment during childhood, so here we are. Commenter 3, honey, she is almost 30. Her choices are her choices. I was a slow-to-launch adult, and it wasn't until I was forced to stand for myself that I actually did. It's sink or swim time. Reply, that's fair. She finally says she's going to get diagnosed but we'll see. Commenter 4 **** NTA, it's crucial to set boundaries right from the start, maybe next time, just lock up before leaving for work too. Reply, yep, this is my plan. Date night. Door locked. Grocery run. Door locked. Lunch with in-laws. Door locked. Commenter 5, anyone else get the feeling that she used those towels for herself and then found the door locked when she went to replace them? Reply, honestly didn't consider that. But you know, she had to walk past the washer and dryer to reach our room. If that's what happened, she could have thrown all of the towels into the washer. Stories number 26. Aita for refusing to lend my car to my BAL after he said I just work from home anyway and accused me of being selfish when I said no. I, 28F, work full-time from home as a project coordinator. I have my own car that I bought, maintain, and pay insurance on. My BL, 32M, recently got into a minor accident, nothing major, but his car is in the shop for about a week. A few days ago, he asked if he could borrow my car while his was getting fixed. I was polite but firm and said I wasn't comfortable lending it out. For one, he's not exactly the most responsible person. He has a bit of a reputation in the family for being careless. His car got dinged up because he was speeding and distracted. Also, I don't really trust anyone else behind the wheel of something I rely on daily, especially someone who's been reckless in the past. His reaction. He got annoyed and said something along the lines of, "Why do you need it so badly? You just work from home anyway." That really rubbed me the wrong way. Just because I work remotely doesn't mean I don't have a life outside of my apartment. I have errands, appointments, gym classes, and honestly, sometimes I just need to get out of the house for my own sanity. Also, it's my car. I'm the one who makes the payments, keeps it clean, handles the oil changes, and deals with the DMV stuff. The idea that I owe it to him just because we're family felt super entitled, especially after the way he dismissed my job and my autonomy. When I told him no again, he said I was being selfish and not thinking about how hard things are for him right now. I get that being without a car is inconvenient, but I didn't cause his accident. I'm not the only person in the family with a vehicle either. He just didn't want to ask anyone else because they live farther away or are less likely to say yes. My husband, his brother, said it's my decision and stayed neutral, but now my MIL and a cousin or two are saying I could have just helped him out for a few days. One even said, "It's not like you're commuting to an office." I feel like I'm being guilt-tripped for setting a basic boundary. I didn't do this out of spite, I just didn't feel comfortable being responsible for whatever could happen to my car in someone else's hands. And frankly, the way he spoke to me made me even more sure I didn't owe him anything. Aita for saying no. Stories number 27. My boyfriend, 28M, told me, 24F, he is pro-life and refuses to wear protection. In the 3 years we've been dating, the political views of women's reproductive rights never came up, and I wish I had this conversation years ago, and I do blame myself for this. We have always had unprotected sex. Part of us was okay with getting pregnant, and we said if it happened we would be okay, and we're in a financial mental emotional spot where we were able to raise a child. I have always been pro-choice, and last weekend during a conversation he told me he is pro-life. I never knew this was a deal-breaker, and now I'm so unsure of what to do. Although I think I'm positive this isn't something I can come back from, I'm truly seeking honest advice. I tried explaining my side and seeing if we could come to some agreement, but he was very set on his views, as am I. I told him, out of respect for my body and my boundaries, that we need to start using a condom until we are absolutely sure we want to bring a life into this world. He laughed at me. We were driving on a road trip, so there was no time to test that, lol, but the next night we got into the argument really bad. He had mentioned, mind you very drunk but still said it, that women are too emotional to have political conversations like this, and that the decision of her reproductive rights is a conversation for men. At that point I was obviously completely appalled and hurt. He apologized in the morning, but nothing has sat right with me since. The last night we were together, he was trying to have sex with me. I told him respectfully he needs to go buy condoms. He laughed and eventually, after going back and forth, got visibly angry and said he would rather not have sex with me at all than use a condom. You can believe we did not hook up, and I nearly haven't spoke with him since. I don't think I can be with someone like that. I tried discussing this with my family, but they told me it's not worth breaking up over. I just needed to vent about this and also possibly hear from the community. Update, holy sh*t. I did not expect this feedback. This has brought to light how brainwashed I have become with him. To the people asking about my safety, we are long distance and I do feel safe enough to end things. My head is spinning and I'm dizzy, but thank you all so much. I can't express this enough. ID also like TOADD. I am 100% going to be seeking out a therapist to help me understand healthy relationships, boundaries, speaking up, communication, everything. Thank you all for helping me see this. Final update, I told him about this thread and was honestly just trying to open his eyes. He's now denying everything. He is still saying he is pro-life, but he's saying he never claimed that I shouldn't have a choice among other things. I took everyone's advice and muted but didn't block in case I ever need to save the messages. Shaking and freaking out, but you are all incredible and lifesavers. I will be having this conversation very early with anyone I'm interested in, and I will stand up for myself. Stories number 28. Aita for not wanting to cook for my GF anymore because she is a picky eater. I, 32M, have been dating my girlfriend, 30F, for about 6 months now. We get along great, we have a lot of fun together, we have deep conversations, and honestly I see potential long-term, maybe even marriage and kids. For background, my mom is a professional chef. She worked in fancy restaurants her whole life, and at home I'd always help her out in the kitchen. I grew up eating and making all kinds of dishes: Indian, Asian, Middle Eastern, American, etc. I enjoy exploring different cuisines and experimenting with flavors. My girlfriend however eats like a 7-year-old on a chicken nugget diet. She doesn't eat beef, pork, or fish, only chicken. She doesn't eat most greens unless they're in a burger and the texture isn't noticeable. No mushrooms, no beans, etc., no sauces with weird stuff, like anything with visible onions, garlic, etc. No spicy food, no creamy textures, no stews, nothing too chewy, too saucy, or might have a funky smells. You get the idea. So for the past 6 months, I've been cooking almost exclusively chicken every time she comes over. And even then, she might not eat it. I once made a creamy chicken dish with asparagus in the sauce and she raised her eyebrows in disgust. Honestly, this is killing my love for cooking. I'm sick of eating chicken all the time. I swear I'm gonna start clucking soon and lay an egg. I've tried to compromise. I asked her if she'd be open to trying new stuff slowly, or letting me make a dish where I can put her version and try to sneak in some small extra ingredients just to make her get used to other kinds of flavors, but nope, she refused the idea. So I finally told her that if she's not willing to budge, I'm not going to keep cooking meals that only she enjoys. I'll still make something we can both eat every now and then, sure, but most days I'm going to cook what I actually enjoy. And if that doesn't work for her, she's welcome to bring her own groceries and I can guide her to cook her own meal, or she can order takeout. That's where she got really upset. She went off saying, "You knew I don't eat most things from the start, so why drag this relationship on for 6 months if it was such a burden?" I said, "I knew you were picky, but I didn't realize how much *** your list of no keeps getting bigger." I told her it's not the end of the world, and we can make separate meals, but I just won't be cooking a separate meal just for her. She said she doesn't like to cook and that I'm being inconsiderate and a bad boyfriend for not cooking a separate meal for her because I am somewhat of a chef and I enjoy it. I said no, I don't want it to become a norm that I always cook 2 separate meals because that's just extra work and unfair for me. Now she's upset, saying I'm selfish and uncaring, and that if I really loved her I wouldn't make a fuss about this. Also, don't even get me started on picking restaurants, that's a whole other rant I won't get into. Just know it's a nightmare. Stories number 29. Aita for backing out at the last minute, because I didn't want to sleep on an air mattress. I, 27F, and 3 friends made a last-minute plan to go to the mountains this weekend. Our group is a couple, let's call them J, 27F, and Sam, 32F, and 2 single friends, me and Alex, 26M. We actually found a good Airbnb at first. It had 2 bedrooms, one with a king bed, and one with 2 single beds. Alex and I were totally fine sharing the second room as long as we had our own bed. But Jay kept saying that she wanted a pool. This is a short, 2-day trip and we're staying just 1 night. I really didn't see why a pool was a big deal. We kept going back and forth trying to decide and the place got booked by someone else. After that, the only places we could find had just 1 bedroom, a pull-out couch, and an air mattress. Alex is recovering from an injury, so of course he shouldn't be on the air mattress. The couple immediately said they wanted the bedroom, but they're not offering to pay more for it. That leaves me with the air mattress. Jay and Sam both don't have a driver's license, and Alex can't drive right now because of his injury. So I'm the only one who can drive us there and back. On top of that, I'm also the only one who has to work on Monday. I really don't want to be the one driving for hours, sleeping on an air mattress, and then dragging myself to work the next day all tired and sore. I genuinely hate sleeping on an air mattress. I always sleep like shit and it just hurts my neck. So, I told them I was backing out. I told them that if they really want to do a trip like this, they need to plan it better so that everyone is comfortable. Alex and Sam seemed to understand, but Jay got annoyed. She said I was being a party pooper, that I was being selfish, and that I was ruining the weekend. She told me I should just adjust so we could all have fun. For a moment, I really did think I was overreacting cause it's just 1 night, and going to the mountains would be super fun. But honestly, it doesn't feel fair that I have the worst sleeping arrangement, and still get labeled as the problem. So, Aita for backing out last minute, because I didn't want to sleep on an air mattress. Top comments. Commenter 1, that's legit shitty. Everyone pays the same price but you get the worst bed option and are the designated driver. Nah. They're just mad because they can't do any of this without you, but not appreciating the extra effort on your part. NTA. Commenter 2, NTA. Perfectly reasonable to want an actual bed when you're paying for it. Commenter 3, NTA. Jay was the party pooper demanding somewhere with a pool instead of accepting somewhere that everybody has an actual bed. Commenter 4, they weren't going to pitch in for gas either, were they? The 2 people who can't drive, trying to call the shots on a road trip is low-key hilarious. Tell them to either quit being bums, or to quit being selfish pricks. Update. Thanks to everyone who replied to my original post. Your responses really helped me feel like I wasn't crazy for feeling frustrated. Unfortunately, I had to go on the trip because I couldn't cancel the Airbnb. Now that the trip is, finally, over, I wanted to post a quick update. For a bit more context, I moved to a new city last year and I've been friends with these people for a little over a year. So I haven't known these people for a very long time. But we've gone out drinking, grabbed food, gone to the movies a few times. They've always seemed pretty chill, which is why I thought it wouldn't be a bad idea to do a short trip with them. Turns out, I was very wrong. Now on to the actual update. I had already booked everything before the whole sleeping arrangement argument, my bad, I know. I just had to do it quickly because it was the 4th of July weekend, the Airbnb, the gondola tickets, shuttle tickets, even prepaid parking. After realizing the Airbnb couldn't be cancelled, I figured I'd just go anyway. I even messaged the host to ask if she could help us with another mattress or something. She said the pull-out couch would be big enough for 2 people and just looked small in the photos. At that point, Sam and Jay still wouldn't budge, so I told myself I'd just suck it up and deal with it for one night. We were supposed to leave early Saturday morning. They were supposed to show up at my place by 5:30 a.m. so we could leave by 6. All of them only reached around 7:15 to 7:30, so we ended up starting the drive late. We only got to the town around 1 p.m. Then they took 2 hours to eat lunch and because of that, we missed our shuttle to the gondola. When I suggested we just do a short hike instead, they said they were too tired and just wanted to get drinks at the local bar. Since I refused to drive them to the bar, they got it delivered. And they stayed up drinking on the couch, aka my bed for the night, and didn't let me sleep until 2 a.m. They got absolutely wasted and told me they weren't going to the lake the next morning and then passed out on the couch floor. I did get the bed but at what cost, lol. I woke up at around 7 a.m. to cancel our shuttle tickets and started cleaning up the Airbnb before our 11 a.m. checkout. They didn't wake up until 10:30, and I had to beg them to get dressed so we could check out on time. I was so done at this point, so I drove them all back to Alex's place and went home. So we did absolutely nothing on the trip except take a 16-minute gondola ride up and down a mountain. No one has paid me back for anything. Not for the Airbnb, not for the gas, not even for the tickets. You were all right. I was just the driver and just someone who helped make their trip cheaper. I don't think I'm going to be hanging out with these people anymore. I'll wait to get my money back, if I ever do, and then I'm done. It feels kind of sad because these were some of the first friends I made since moving to this city, but honestly, life's too short to spend time around selfish, inconsiderate people. Deep down, I already knew this trip would be a mess, but I had to learn it the hard way, I guess. Hopefully next time I'll spot people like this a little earlier. Lesson learned. Edit, added a few words for clarity. Edit 2, Sam and Alex just sent me their share. Jay still hasn't, but Sam said she'll cover for her if she doesn't pay by Saturday. I've been going through all your comments and yeah, I was definitely being a doormat. They've never acted like this before, so I didn't see it coming. I've never really been surrounded by friends like this, or I've always managed to cut them off before it got this bad. I'm definitely going to stand up for myself more from now on. Thanks guys. Top comments. Commenter 1, honestly, I would have left at 6 a.m. when they didn't show. They treated you like a chauffeur. Commenter 2, send a money request to each for their portions. If you have anything in text or email amount agreeing to split the cost and they don't pay in 30 days, then take them to small claims and add court cost to each one. You're not going to be friends anymore, so nothing to lose. Commenter 3, you would have been better off going by yourself. Stories number 30. Aita for not coming to my sister's birthday party because she wouldn't allow vegetarian food at her party. For context, I have been vegetarian my whole life. My mom says ever since the very first time they tried to feed me meat when I was 1, I've been refusing to eat it. They thought I'd grow out of it, but I never did. The rest of my family has always eaten meat. My sister was having a pizza party to celebrate her birthday, 37. I asked what pizzas they were ordering and she listed off a bunch of meat ones. I was like, okay, no problem, I'll just order my own. She said no, she doesn't like vegetarian pizza. I told her that I don't eat meat, something she knows very well since she's older than me and has literally known me my whole life, and if there aren't any meat-free pizzas I won't have anything to eat. She said it's her birthday so she gets to pick the food. I was like fine, whatever, it's not worth fighting over, I'll just eat salad and sides. She said they weren't getting any because she only wants pizza. So I said I'd just bring something else for me to eat. That wasn't okay with her, because it's a pizza party. At this point I had enough, so I just told her I hope she has a lovely birthday party and I'll see her at our parents' place in 2 weeks for the barbecue they're having. I didn't go to her party and now she's mad. The thing is, my sister and I have a long history of clashing. She has a very set idea on how people should be and I don't fit that template in many ways. I tell her that she can live how she likes and I won't comment, but she needs to let me live how I like without comment. She doesn't have to agree, but she has to accept that it's my choice and it doesn't affect her in any way. I'm not like a murderer or anything, I'm talking more like she doesn't approve of how I decorate my house, or that I don't want a promotion at work because I'm happy in my position. Things like that. So anyways, this fight is about more than pizza, it's about me choosing to be something she doesn't think I should be and her trying to force my hand. I decided a few years ago that I wasn't going to engage when she's like that, and my brother agrees and thinks our sister was being ridiculous and passive-aggressive, but my parents think I should have just kept the peace since it was her special day and come to the party then just eaten in the way home. Stories number 31. I, 35F, think my husband, 37M, might be cheating on me but my evidence aren't very good. How to deal with it? Hi, Reddit. So 2 weeks ago, I unexpectedly broke my phone when I dropped it. I was without a phone for a few days, and I had to make calls to family and friends. I take my husband's phone, with his consent, of course. When I was looking for one person in his contacts, I noticed that he had someone signed as Love. Honestly, I found this a bit odd, as he's usually the type to refer to everyone by name plus where he knows them from. Even I'm not described as wife, but as OP's name. Despite this, even when my husband changes his phone, he always has the same number and transfers all his stuff. Some of his contacts are even from school. So I started wondering if it was some ex-girlfriend he'd forgotten about or something. It bothered me, though, so the next day I approached him and said, "Hey, when I was using your phone, I noticed one weird contact referred as Love and it's bothering me. Could you explain it to me?" His answer surprised me a bit because he said, "Good that you mentioned it, I was just thinking about calling them." To put it as simply as possible, Love is a pizzeria which we use sometimes. The thing is, I'm 100% sure Love only became a pizzeria after I used his phone. I don't remember the entire number, but I do remember the last 2 digits. Let's say it was something like 11. The pizzeria's number ends with something like 33. I can't stop thinking about it. I have a feeling that because my phone broke unexpectedly, he didn't have time to change Love to something else, but he knew I'd ask, so he switched after I'd finished using his phone. On the other hand, we've been together for 7 years and he's never been secretive, he never hid his phone, and I've never seen anyone signed as Love call him. But ever since this thought popped into my head, I can't stop wondering, but how do I approach this? Do I have the right to ask him to look through his phone? How can I trust him? Update, I, 35F, think my husband, 37M, might be cheating on me but my evidence aren't very good. How to deal with it? Hi, Reddit. First, I want to apologize for not responding to my previous post. I wrote it before leaving the house, and I immediately fell asleep when I got home. Now, today's events. I decided to take a chance. While my husband was taking a bath, I used his phone. I found 2 numbers that matched the first one 11, but one of them was his sister's, so that was out. I wrote down the second number on a piece of paper. I quickly put the phone away. But 10 minutes later, my husband was still in the bathroom, so I took a chance again and checked his phone again. He and this number exchange 2 phone numbers every day, when he should be at work and when I'm already asleep. I fall asleep first, my husband goes to bed a little after midnight. They also had a lot of messages, but all of them from my husband boiled down to, "How are you feeling?" and, "Do you need anything?" No photos. When it was time for me to go for a running, I took my phone and the number I had written down. I ran to the park, and called there. A woman answered almost immediately. An elderly lady. A truly elderly lady. Not his grandmother or anyone else in the family. But she was the Love. This is where it gets even weirder. I told her I was a friend of my husband's name. She told me she didn't know who I was talking about, and I could tell from her voice that she wasn't lying. She was genuinely confused. So I said that I was talking about the person she talks and texts with every day. She said, "Oh, you mean, definitely not my husband's name?" I said yes. We had a conversation in which she praised him and called him her another soulmate and true angel. She also asked me not to tell my husband's wife about our conversation and that he helped her every day and asked me when he can visit her again. I was very confused. I made up a quick excuse and hung up. I got home an hour ago and I still don't know what to do. I'm more confused than last time. Stories number 32. Aita for declining my parents' invite to a restaurant to celebrate my engagement with my fiancé. Partner and I recently got engaged, and my parents have offered to take us out to dinner to celebrate at my mom's favorite restaurant. The catch is that I really dislike this place. I have made this known previously and it has even been a running joke with them about how I am terrified of the restaurant, which is fine. I can take a joke, but it is just not making me feel very good that in order to celebrate us they offer to take us somewhere they know we don't like. The restaurant is fine. It's not even bad. My problem with it is that it's in my hometown and it's a spot where, without fail, my parents will see their friends. Their friends will come up to the table and say hi and stay and talk a bit. I don't dislike these people and gladly socialize with them in other contexts, but I just hate having to sit through these interactions while I'm at dinner. We often usually see people from my high school, which also isn't my favorite. I am not a particularly socially anxious person, but I just really dislike this for some reason. When I was invited I tried to make a light-hearted joke about it being my favorite, and my parents said they don't want to drive very far. I gently offered to chauffeur everyone somewhere else since it was a special occasion and offered a list of places I have been wanting to try for the occasion. This morning I was told off by my dad saying that I was being rude and that when I am invited to dinner the polite thing is to just say yes, not to ask to go somewhere else. This whole thing is bothering me a lot more than I thought and kind of hurting my feelings and making me feel unseen. It is putting me in a bad mood and making me want to stay home since if I bring it up again I will be the one making a big deal and being rude etc. and I will never hear the end of it. I feel the only way to keep this from being an issue is to go along with it and celebrate somewhere I don't even want to be just to please my parents. Stories number 33. Aita for ditching my sister and her kids mid-trip after she completely changed the plans on me. A few weeks ago, my sister, 33, asked me, 29F, to drive her and her 3 small kids, 6, 4, and 6 months, from Cincinnati to Huntsville, Alabama. She wanted to hang out with her best friend, and I figured I could use the time to see my long-distance girlfriend. Seemed fair. She also asked me to watch her kids and her best friends too, 14 and 9, for 2 days out of the 5-day trip. I agreed, not ideal, but whatever. I was also supposed to drive them all to Cleveland once it was over. We agreed I'd stay with her at her best friend's house. I confirmed the sleeping situation ahead of time, asking, "Are you sure they have room for me?" She said yes, they had a big house, an air mattress, couches, and if necessary, I could sleep in her bed. Cool. Nothing else was mentioned. Then our aunt passed away shortly before the trip. I drove everyone from Cleveland to Middletown for the funeral, the day before we were set to leave. I stayed with a friend in Cincinnati that night so I could actually sleep. My great-aunt, from Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, was at the funeral and told me my sister kept asking her over and over what time they'd be leaving and getting back, which seemed oddly specific at the time. We were supposed to leave for Huntsville at 10 a.m. the next day. Instead, she stalled us until nearly 2 p.m. I drove 4.5 hours with multiple stops for potty breaks. Then, as we're nearing Lawrenceburg, not even our destination, she suddenly says, "Oh, by the way, plans changed, me and the kids are going to Atlanta for a day." This meant I couldn't stay at her best friend's house, because apparently I'm not allowed to be alone in the house with her best friend's husband. I asked why she didn't tell me that earlier, and she snapped, "I'm grown, I don't have to tell you my plans ahead of time." I was pissed but said fine, I'd reach out to our great-aunt and see if I could stay with her that night. Then, about 30 minutes from Huntsville, she suddenly suggests I stay with our aunt the whole week because she doesn't think her best friend's husband is comfortable with me staying there at all. I didn't even respond. She took it upon herself to call our great-aunt anyway and arrange for me to stay. While stopped so the 6-year-old could pee, she jumped in the driver's seat, turned the car around, and drove me to Lawrenceburg. Like, that was never the plan. No discussion. Just dropped me off and yelled, "See ya Thursday." As in, to babysit the kids. Mind you, my girlfriend could only visit me one day instead of the 2 we had planned, since I was now way further from her. I was furious. It's now Wednesday. A reluctant friend came to pick me up, and I'm currently on my way back to Ohio. I haven't told my sister. She still thinks I'm watching her kids tomorrow and driving them all to Cleveland. So, Aita for leaving her and her kids mid-trip? Or was I just being used from the jump? Stories number 34. My Mormon grandma proving yet again that her love is conditional. Rude guests. I got married 2 years ago, summer of 2023. My husband both grew up Mormon and the majority of our families still are. If you don't know, Mormons have exclusive Mormon-only ceremonies in their temples where they do weird-ass shit dressed like the Keebler elves. They believe that getting sealed in the temple is the only way to stay married after you die, in the special Mormon afterlife. We had a normal-ass wedding at a vineyard. Well, I recently found out from my sister-in-law, who was having casual conversation with my grandma at my wedding, about this special little tidbit. SIL, how does it feel to have another grandchild getting married? GMA, well they're not really married, BC we weren't sealed in the temple. When I learned this, I had just recently been going through a journey with my therapist to accept that my parents were deaf emotionally abusive as I was growing up, and my mom's side is particularly toxic. This is my mom's mom. So I wasn't shocked, especially having heard the way she talks about my cousins who have also left the cult. So I wasn't really hurt, it was more just like, yep that tracks. But damn bitch, if you think I'm not even married then why bother coming? I would have had alcohol at my wedding if not for the prudes like you. Stories number 35. My husband said that no man wants a daughter. The other week me, F22, and my fiancé, M26, got into a pretty big argument. On the way back from grocery shopping future children were brought up, I mentioned how I'd love to have a little girl. Instead of agreeing or saying something joyful, he quickly said how he'd be disappointed and how he'd want a son. I knew he'd always wanted a son but I didn't think a daughter would be a disappointment. He then compared a daughter to a son like, getting a hand-me-down automatic car compared to a manual new car. I guess he sees daughters as inferior. We went on for a bit. When I asked why he really wanted a son, he said, I don't want my bloodline to end, and if I have a daughter it'll end with her with my family name. I was speechless. He's not royalty or anything so I'm not sure where bloodline is considered important. We reached home and I ignored him for a bit, it then blew up again. I tried to be reasonable and maybe come to a resolution. He kept shouting and mocking me. It reached a pinnacle where he shouted, what fucking man wants a daughter? I walked out the house because I had some unsavory things I wanted to yell. I left to go to work, and whilst driving I received a barrage of texts saying how he's cutting my car off the insurance since I'm being so childish. That evening he apologized and I thought we'd made some progress when it comes to communication. Flash forward a week later, I'm at work doing my thing when I receive a message from him saying how the car's battery is dead. Context: I have 2 cars, he has 1. His car was at the garage so he's been borrowing one of mine for a couple weeks. I spoke with my coworker, and she said as it's quiet I can finish early so he can get my other car so he can get to work. We then did some talking and he agreed that if I head back early he'd run me back to work so I don't miss out on hours. My coworker was also happy to drop me off at home. He messaged me saying if I head home now he can drop me off back at work. So I head home and call him once I'm outside. I said, hey honey, I'm outside, where are you? He snapped at me saying, I'm nowhere near ready, you come inside, I'm not coming out. Despite my inner urge to just drive back to work after that attitude, I park up, call to him when I'm in the house and sit down on the sofa to wait. 10 minutes pass and he storms down the stairs, sees me, snaps at me saying, geez thanks for the help, nice of you to help me when I'm in the pinch. I'm very confused by his attitude and also the fact that letting him use both my cars is not considered helping in a pinch. We got in the car, I'm baffled, try and ask calmly why he's so worked up. I'm the barked at with words along the lines of, I'm going to be late for work, you don't even help me, I had to rush to shave, you could have packed my lunch whilst I'm getting ready. I was genuinely shocked. He then continued to yell at me in the car and mock me. I just don't get how he doesn't see how weird he's being. Whenever we have arguments like this he always ends up making me feel like it's my fault for not always being able to know what's going on. I know I'm far from perfect and I make mistakes. But I would never treat him how he's treating me at the moment. I feel like I'm always on eggshells, and everything I do is being scrutinized by him and judged. And that no matter what I'm doing it's not enough for him. I just don't know if he's really being an or if I'm just being oversensitive. Am I the AH? Stories number 36. Okay, let's call the park officer. This happened July 4th weekend. I am a member and have a place in a self-contained camp community. Nice quiet place with a lake and pools and a restaurant and things like that. I love it because my kid can be a kid like I was and go wander with friends and disappear until dinner time and I don't have to worry. Our place is on a small cul-de-sac that is grassed in and we use it for kids to play and set up cornhole and all that. Because it's July 4th a bunch of people have guests so the park is more full than normal, and a guest of someone on the circle parked at the edge of the grass. Well, my kid and another kid were playing catch and one of the kids missed the ball and it hit the parked car. Owner of the car comes out hot and going at the kids. Me and the other kid's parent both go over to calm the situation. Obviously if there's damage we'll take care of it because it's from our kids. But this guy starts going off about all these dents and this big scratch and a crack in the windshield and all this is the kid's fault. I was willing to be reasonable, but when you start saying you want a ton of extra work done trying to blame my kid I get a little less reasonable. So we're going back and forth and then he says the magic word that if we aren't willing to pay for everything he's going to call the park safety office to come deal with it. Knowing where this was going I smiled and said yes, okay, let's do that. So the officer comes out and to no one's surprise but this guy the area his car is parked is a no parking area, so not only does the officer tell him to deal with it because if he had followed the rules and parked in an actual parking zone this wouldn't have happened, and because the guy told him he'd been parked there for 2 days with no issues before now, he got a nice fat ticket in order to move his car. He turned bright red but didn't say another word and moved his car, and we didn't see or hear from him the rest of the weekend. Stories number 37. Dress more appropriately for church. Sure, I'll follow the rule literally. A couple years ago, I joined a small but tight-knit church community. Everyone was pretty relaxed, people came in jeans, dresses, even t-shirts sometimes, especially at youth services. No one was disrespectful, just comfortable. I usually wore long skirts or dress pants and nice tops. Nothing flashy and definitely nothing revealing. But apparently, that wasn't churchy enough for one particular elder, an older woman. After service one day, she pulled me aside and said, with that sweet fake smile, "Sweetheart, I just wanted to encourage you to dress a bit more appropriately. We should always look our best for the Lord." I was confused. I asked what exactly was inappropriate about my outfit, a long navy skirt, a tucked-in blouse, and flats. She said, "It's not bad, but, not quite holy attire. Maybe think about what you'd wear if Jesus was sitting in the front row." The next Sunday, I showed up in my most over-the-top church outfit. Full floor-length choir robe. White gloves. A wide-brimmed hat with a fake bird and a little veil. Bible in hand, stockings, low heels and pearls. I looked like I was either about to preach, get baptized, or time travel back to 1954. People stared. One usher asked if I was part of the clergy now. Someone whispered, "Is she in a play?" And bless her heart, the elder gave me a stunned little nod when I sat close to her and said, "You look very reverent today." "Thank you." I figured this is how Jesus would want me to show up. Next week. Back to my usual outfit. Never got a comment again. Stories number 38. Bully misogynist got poorer. This happened when I was at college many years ago. In the college bar, the college rugby club boys were well known for being loud, entitled bullies. One night one of the loudest would-be Tory MP bloke was tearing into this girl saying she was stupid, pointless and useless and would be heading for a career as a waitress. F21, stepped in and said, "Hey, shut your mouth you pig." He turned on me and said, "Why would I listen to an ugly bitch like you?" A day or two later, same guy is back in the bar sitting round a table with his rugby mates being loud and obnoxious as usual. I saw a tenner fall out of his pocket onto the floor without him noticing. Seeing my opportunity, one went over to the table, covered the money with my foot, then walked back to my friends, dragging my foot and the money all the way that he noticed and laughed and said loudly, "I didn't know she was a disabled ed as well. Ha ha ha, etc." 10 quid back in those days was enough for a really good night at the bar. Every round we had, we cheered him and raised our glasses. He had no idea. Stories number 39. Aita for not apologizing to my nephew for telling him to zip it after he disrespected me in my home. My brother, 39M, hasn't spoken to me, 40F, since Easter Sunday, for 12/23 I believe, because I told his 13-year-old son to zip it after he was disrespectful to me. Backstory: I had been cooking our family Easter dinner at my home, we go all out, since the early hours of the morning. My brother and his son arrived around 1 p.m. and immediately went to relax on the couch. My husband, who was 2 weeks out from a lumbar fusion, so he couldn't help, my mom's husband and my brother plus his kid were chatting in the living room when I went in and asked my brother and mom's husband to go hide Easter eggs for the kids, 6 and 9. My nephew, 13, replied, "Aren't you the adult, shouldn't you be doing that?" I responded and told him that I didn't know who he thought he was talking to like that. I know it was probably harsh, but he replied again disrespectfully and I responded, "Zip it, I'm not in the mood," and went back to cooking. My brother took his child and left and is demanding I apologize for disrespecting his kid. It's been over 2 years and we still don't speak. Stories number 40. AIO for refusing to take part in my boss's secret weight loss challenge at work. I, 32F, work in a small office where our manager likes to organize little team-building activities. Usually it's harmless, like trivia games or bake-offs. Last Monday, she announced she's running a secret weight loss challenge for the summer. We all drew names from a hat and are supposed to secretly encourage our assigned coworker to lose weight, however we can. I was horrified. I'm not overweight myself, but the idea of basically fat-shaming someone under the guise of encouragement feels gross. Plus, what if someone gets me? When it was my turn, I said, "Sorry, but I'm not comfortable participating in this." My boss rolled her eyes and said I was being negative and ruining the fun. My coworkers seemed awkward but didn't say anything. Now she's cold-shouldering me and I overheard her telling someone I have no team spirit. I don't want to make a big HR complaint, but now I feel like the office villain. Am I overreacting by refusing to take part? Stories number 41. I shouldn't have trusted my in-laws. I was home one night when a text came through on my husband's phone. I only saw a name, Charlotte, and, looking forward to tomorrow, before Alex grabbed the phone. He said she was a coworker and they had a team lunch tomorrow, but he sounded nervous. I tried to check his phone, but he kept it close for the next few days. So I did some digging. I called his office posing as a client and got Charlotte's last name. Then I searched online and found her Instagram account. She was disgustingly hot in that fake manicured way, but the real issue was the picture she'd posted. Her and Alex, at restaurants, on vacation, with his family. I can't believe I trusted them. I'd always known his mother didn't like me, but apparently she liked Charlotte just fine, judging from all the smiling and laughing in the pictures. All while I was home with our daughter. I was livid, but nothing good came from anger, so I calmed down and debated my next move. I could confront him, but even with proof he'd just say I was paranoid and his family would back him up. And he, and his mom, had insisted on a prenup when we married, so filing for divorce was out. I wouldn't let my daughter suffer. So I came up with a plan. The next day, I called Alex at work and said I was going to visit my parents. He didn't object, probably anticipating having more time to spend with her. I packed a bag, dropped Maddie off with a sitter, and went to his office. I waited outside until he and Charlotte left and followed them back to her place. Then I checked into a nearby motel. The following morning, I visited Charlotte's house while she was at work. I let myself in, did what I had to do, and went to get Maddie and go see my parents. 4 days later, I was at home when the police came by. Did you find my husband? Pardon me, the officer asked. My husband's been missing for 2 days. I don't know where he is and he isn't answering his phone. I filed a report. You must know something. The officer looked at me. I'm afraid I have some bad news. I sat and listened while he danced around what had happened, not realizing I already knew everything. The party I wasn't invited to. The dessert Charlotte had been asked to bring, like they always used to ask me. The poison I'd put in her cake when I'd visited her house that night. The dozen dead bodies spread around his mother's backyard, blood spurting violently from every orifice. I wish I could help, officer, but I wasn't at this party. No one even told me about it. The best part? There was no one to disagree. See? You can trust your in-laws. You just have to kill them first. Stories number 42. Coworker kept opening everyone's packages like she was doing unboxings. I'm working at a company where a receptionist, let's call her A, has developed a strange habit of opening only personal packages that get delivered to the office. Not office supplies, not team-related deliveries, just people's private orders. Since she sits right at the front and receives all the mail first, she's taken it upon herself to treat every package like it's her business. The role of a receptionist is pretty straightforward: answer calls, greet guests, manage schedules, receive deliveries, and inform people when their package arrives. That's it. Nowhere does it say she needs to open anything, especially items clearly marked with someone's name. But it constantly opens boxes, looks through the contents, then hands them over like she's doing you a favor, always with a cheerful, "Your parcel arrived" smiling face with smiling eyes, as if the tape wasn't already torn and the box half open. She's gone through skincare, snacks, clothing, protein powders, even a coworker's undergarments. One time she opened a package of vitamins and shook the bottle like she was inspecting it. When asked why, she always says things like, "I was just checking what's inside of it," or, "It's for clearance," which doesn't even make sense. We're not a logistics company. We don't have any policy requiring personal items to be checked. People have told her directly to stop, but she brushes it off every time. Eventually, someone reported her to HR. Ever since then, she's been giving people the cold shoulder, avoiding conversations, and making side comments like, "People these days get upset over the smallest things." But this isn't about overreacting, it's about respecting boundaries. Her job is to notify us when a package arrives, not open it, inspect it, or comment on it. I really hope HR puts a policy in writing because this went way past what a receptionist is supposed to be doing. Stories number 43. My best friend's husband has been lying about everything and I'm not sure how to tell her. My best friend got married last year. She was dating her husband for 12 years on and off. I've known him throughout their entire relationship. I've always been a little suspicious of him and have caught him in lies before. Anyway, I recently found out that he was lying about his occupation and I'm not sure what to do. He claimed he worked as a nurse and had gotten fired about a week after their wedding. I supported her through this for the past year, emotionally, but was really suspicious because my friend makes really good money and the timing was weird. This happened over a year ago and he still has not found another job. Every time I ask her about his job search she just says that it is really difficult to find a job right now and she is frustrated. So this past week we were hanging out and she told me that he had randomly brought up that he'd had his license revoked when he was fired and that's why he hasn't found a new job. She was frustrated with him and was venting, but something here seemed off. So I searched his name on our board of nursing website and nothing came up. I looked for it under all of the licenses available to search and under disciplinary action for the past 3 years. There is no evidence that he ever had a nursing license. That led me down a rabbit hole. I did so many searches on this man. When he suggested they move in together, it was because he had been evicted from his apartment for not paying rent. The car he drives? Not in his name. I couldn't find any information on his occupation at all. His name is very common, think John Smith, but I searched with his birth date as well and didn't find anything. My husband thinks that he doesn't even have a degree. I'm not sure what to do. How do I tell my friend when I don't have much information? Should I do a full background check before I bring it to her, or will that make me look even more crazy? I feel like I've violated some trust somehow, but all of this is public information. I'm concerned for her, but also extremely concerned because she is the godmother of my children. He is around them all the time. If I need more information first, how can I get it? Is there a way I can look up his degree and occupation without a background check? I feel so paranoid now.